Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Each of the 22 teams will play 8 regular season games in Orlando for seeding purposes, sources tell ESPN. The play-in format requires a double elimination format for the 8th seed, a single elimination for the 9th seed. If the 9th seed is more than 4 games behind the 8th seed, the number 8 makes the playoffs. Fewer than 4 games, it's a play-in tournament.
Huh? What?
I'm trying to stay with this one.
Dan Patrick.
Vic Fangio is the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
We're a league of meritocracy. You earn what you get what you earn. I don't see racism. We're lucky.
There's a lot of people who lack self-awareness. There are other teams or owners that maybe you could call out. There is racism. He may not see it. He hasn't experienced it, but it is there.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. It's hour 1 on this Thursday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Saw an interview with Drew Brees yesterday that was floating around, and I didn't know it was from yesterday because the comments had to do with kneeling, had to do with the flag, had to do with Colin Kaepernick directly, indirectly. And I thought maybe this was from a few years back, and I wasn't sure why it was trending. And then I realized this was Drew Brees from an interview yesterday on Yahoo. Yahoo Finance interviewed him. And Drew talked about patriotism, standing for the flag. And I'll play the full context of the question and the answer there. And then, because I want to give both sides to this, he has since come out with an apology that I just got about 10 minutes ago. I'll read that for you. We'll hear from Malcolm Jenkins, a teammate of Drew Brees', in what he had to say yesterday. The timing of this, the insensitivity of the timing of this with Drew Brees, because I can let Drew Brees have his opinion. I may not agree with his opinion, but it's his opinion, and that's the beauty of what we have here in the United States. You can have an opinion. He may not agree with Colin Kaepernick's opinion or Malcolm Jenkins' opinion or Michael Thomas's opinion, but you at least have to have an understanding of why they feel the way they do. And I would say the same to Michael Thomas and Malcolm Jenkins. They have to understand why Drew feels the way he does. But this is a time of less talk and more listening. And I think Drew understands that now. You know, if this is 3 weeks ago and we're talking about this, maybe it's different. Maybe it's received differently. But this has been Drew Brees' stance on the anthem, and he's said this down through the years in previous interviews that we've had. I may not agree, and I've said I didn't think what Colin Kaepernick was doing was it was not the flag that he was disrespecting. And the reason why I say that is I go back to what a former Green Beret, Nate Boyer, played with the Seahawks. He said to Colin Kaepernick, remember when he was sitting and no one noticed. There was a reporter who eventually saw that Colin Kaepernick was sitting during the anthem. And Nate Boyer, Green Beret, says to Colin Kaepernick, it would be more respectful to the nation's military if he would kneel. This is a Green Beret saying this. I never thought it was about the flag as much as it was. At this moment, I can have eyes on me, and I want to let people know about social injustice. And he went about it quietly. He didn't even tell his teammates he was going to do it. I thought we had moved on from it. We can agree about Colin Kaepernick. Look, we all wrap ourselves, in the cloak of patriotism. We want to respect the flag. But you have to understand there are segments, there are people, there are groups, there are races that look at it differently than we do. I have a military background with my father in the Marines and my uncles, one in the Army and one in the Navy. We all have that. But when the military came home, not everybody was treated the same. Let's put it that way. The GI Bill didn't apply to everybody. African Americans didn't get those same benefits, the GI Bill. They fought for their country. They didn't get the same benefits. And I understand that. And as much as I understand the military and the sacrifices, I didn't know that African Americans were treated differently when they came back. And that's what we have to understand. All it is let me just listen to why you feel this way, why it is so painful, why somebody gave up their NFL career. Colin Kaepernick gave up his career, was willing to give up his career. I have to be respectful to that opinion. I don't like that he did it. I understand that he did it because I knew once he did it what it was going to mean. And maybe I was nervous about how uncomfortable it was going to make America. Not just football world, America. And we saw what happened. I think it was misinterpreted. Totally misread. People grabbed it and used it for their own social causes. Kaepernick, I do think, with what he was saying or not saying and what he was doing, was to open our eyes with what we just saw in Minneapolis. Drew Brees, who has been a pillar of integrity for the city of New Orleans, for the state of Louisiana, Sportsman of the Year back in 2010. What he was saying is the same answer that he had given to me a couple of years prior and a couple of years prior to that. But I think understanding your teammates when you are a leader is listening to them. You may not agree, but you listen. And it felt like Drew Brees was not listening to his teammates and understanding why they're so hurt, why they were so angry at him. Michael Thomas, his star wide receiver, angry at Drew Brees. Malcolm Jenkins, angry at him. And Drew Brees now, I think, understands, why did it take this long to understand why your teammates would be hurt? But I want to play this in context. This is the question that's asked and the full answer with Drew Brees. And then I will read you his apology. This is from Yahoo Finance yesterday.
Everyone is looking back now at Kaepernick's protests from a few years ago, and obviously they were always about police brutality, and now it's coming back to the fore, and a lot of people expect that we will see players kneeling again if and when the NFL season starts. I'm curious how you think the NFL will and should respond to that, and of course, you're such a leader in the league. What is your responsibility as a leader in times like this for the rest of your teammates and players in the league?
Well, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place. So every time I stand with my hand over my heart, looking at that flag and singing the national anthem, that's what I think about. And in many cases, it brings me to tears, thinking about all that has been sacrificed, not just those in the military, but for that matter, those throughout the civil rights movements of the 60s. And everyone and all that has been endured by so many people up until this point. And is everything right with our country right now? No, it's not. We still have a long way to go. But I think what you do by standing there and showing respect to the flag with your hand over your heart is it shows unity. It shows that we are all in this together. We can all do better, and that we are all part of the solution.
Okay, I understand all of those things he's saying. And I can understand where he's coming from. But in today's world, as volatile as it is, you have to understand what is going on and what is being said and what is being demonstrated and protested. And that's where Drew is tone deaf. if you frame it in a way and say, what happened in Minneapolis can't happen again, and I understand the pain and the anger, or at least I'm trying to understand the pain and the anger, you have to at least put it in perspective of today. Yes, your great-grandfather, mine fought too. I want to respect the flag. I want to respect those who respect the flag. But I'll go to my grave in saying Colin Kaepernick was just trying to get eyes on this issue, systemic racism. That's what he wanted. He wanted dialogue. He did it peacefully. And it wasn't good enough. He was shunned. And now we have the hypocrisy to say, as a former employee of the NFL, hey, why don't we give him a job with the Vikings? It's just hypocritical. He just asked to have you listen. Let's make change. He sacrificed his career. And remember at the time, all those reasons why nobody wanted to sign Colin Kaepernick. Remember? People came up with all these excuses, and none of those were true. They actually had somebody say his diet. Oh, he's on a new diet. Can he withstand the rigors of playing the NFL? And I'm going, his diet? Oh, his mechanics are. Wait, this is the same guy that torched the Packers, and you're going to tell me this? But we kept making excuses. And that's the problem. We've continued to make excuses, and that's why this is where we are right now. We make excuses. We look the other way. Here's Malcolm Jenkins, Saints defensive back, talking about Drew Brees.
Our communities are under siege, and we need help. And what you're telling us is, don't ask for help that way. Ask for a different way. I can't listen to it when you ask that way. We're done asking, Drew. And people who share your sentiments, who express those and push them throughout the world, the airways, are the problem. And it's unfortunate because I considered you a friend. I looked up to you. You're somebody who I had a great deal of respect for. But sometimes you should shut the up.
That's Malcolm Jenkins. Drew Brees was on the show May of 2018, and he talked about his stance on the national anthem.
I think I've made myself very clear in where I stand in all of this. I think that the national anthem is a way to unify everyone. I think by some people kneeling and some people standing and all that, I think that that's very divisive for our country. And I think that the flag and the national anthem deserves our respect for all those who have come before us, who have fought so hard, who have died and sacrificed in order for us to have the freedoms that we have in this country. So I believe that no matter what you're protesting, because there's plenty of things about this country that I think we would all like to see improvements. I just don't think that during the national anthem is a time to voice those opinions. I think that it deserves our full respect by standing at attention, looking at the flag, hand over your heart, singing the national anthem, and paying that respect.
That's Drew Brees, May of 2018. That's his opinion. I respect your opinion. I may differ from it, and in this case, I do. I don't agree with that. But you can have your opinion. It doesn't mean I hate Drew Brees, don't respect Drew Brees. I just see it differently than Drew Brees does. That's the luxuries that we're afforded here in the United States. But you just have to listen to why other people would be so passionate about it. And that's what I didn't understand when Drew, if you understand what Kaepernick is risking, and you start with his life, because there were death threats with Colin Kaepernick, let alone he killed his career. I have to understand why that means so much to you. And it's easy to go, hey, he's anti-American. He's anti-flag. He's not. He wants to be pro-American. He wants to be pro-flag. He wants that flag to mean the same to him as it does to Drew Brees. Drew Brees issued an apology this morning. I got it about 25 minutes ago. I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. In an attempt to talk about respect, unity, and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on the issues we are facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion or empathy. Instead, those words have become divisive and hurtful and have misled people into believing that somehow I am an enemy. This could not be further from the truth. It is not an accurate reflection of my heart or my character. This is where I stand. Drew Brees goes on to say, I stand with the black community in the fight against systemic racial injustice and police brutality and support the creation of real policy change that will make a difference. I condemn the years of oppression that have taken place throughout our black communities and still exist today. I acknowledge that we as Americans, including myself, have not done enough to fight for that equality or to truly understand the struggles and plight of the black community. I recognize that I am part of the solution and can be a leader for the black community in this movement. I will never know what it's like to be a black man or raise black children in America, but I will work every day to put myself in those shoes and fight for what is right. I have always, in capital letters, been an ally, never an enemy. I am sick about the way my comments were perceived yesterday, but I take full responsibility and accountability. I recognize that I should do less talking and more listening. And when the black community is talking about their pain, we all need to listen. For that, I am very sorry, and I ask your forgiveness. So that's Drew Brees and his apology, the question and his full answer yesterday that led to this. We'll have a little bit more on this, but I wanted to give you both sides of this. My opinion has always been out there. My opinion hasn't changed. I probably have a deeper understanding as we move along away from Colin Kaepernick, but it's there. Colin Kaepernick he's back in mainstream America. And I hope it's a good thing because I hope it brings change. We don't like to be uncomfortable, but we're uncomfortable now. And I think that's a good thing. Take a break. Back after this. Can I skip this read here?
Yeah, you can
Seton?
save it.
All right.
We'll hit it later.
All right. You got a Larry Bird story for us before we let you go? One I haven't heard.
Oh, man, I got so many Larry Bird stories. You know, like, the greatest thing about Larry, I mean, every time I just think of Larry, I just think of the extreme competence of Larry. You know, I always thought I was confident. You know, I always thought Kevin McHale was confident, but Larry just had a different level.
But he would tell guys that he was going to shoot in their face, like, I'm going to do this. I was always amazed that, guys would say, Larry would say, like Xavier McDaniel, he told me he's going to shoot a jumper right in my face, right there.
Yeah, no, I remember that whole story vividly, but there was a lesser told story where he made a bet with the trainer of the New York Knicks. And before the game, we were out shooting three. Larry and I were shooting threes before the game. And Larry, he said, hey, I'll bet you $20 you can't bank one in like that in the game. And Larry goes, you're on. And so the game proceeds, and we're we get ahead by about 20 points the fourth quarter. Our bench comes in the game. And all of a sudden, the Knicks are starting to creep back in the game, but it still feels like we have the game under control. And the trainer for the Knicks looks down at me and, says, like, get Larry his attention. He sends him the sign, like, you owe me $20. You never banked in a three-pointer. And Larry goes, crap, I can't believe I forgot that, and so sure enough, the game gets down to 7 points, I think it was. And Casey Jones puts the starters back in the game. And within the first 2 or 3 possessions, Larry gets a shot on the corner and banks in a three-pointer. at that stage of the game, with a close game, I could see it with a 20-point lead, but, I got so many of the confident stories like that, but that's just, he cared more about that $20 bet than he did the game.
He was so cheap. I could just imagine, I didn't want to owe him $20, Make sure you join the Traeger Hood. Traeger Grills, we talk about a 5-tool player. Traeger 6-in-1 versatility, the ability to smoke, grill, roast, bake, braise, and barbecue. You can cook just about anything you want. You can do cocktails, veggies, desserts, and, of course, you can throw some meat on there as well, as we always do on Friday. Traeger, you cook delicious food, and it's really simple. You control the temperature. It's like using an oven. Pick the temperature. You have a Traeger app. They have Wi-Fi technology. You can control your grill from your Traeger app. That means you monitor the internal food temperature, change grill settings, and you can be doing other things like lounging by the pool. Blow the neighborhood competition away this year. Contact your local dealer. Visit TraegerGrills.com/DP Show today. We cover everything here. Certainly sports-wise, and one of the most popular sports names, one of the most popular athletes in our country in the crosshairs, and that's why we covered Drew Brees. His comments, the question, his answer, his apology, his teammates have responded, and we'll continue to follow that if there is something to move this forward. I've given you my opinion on it. Phone calls are welcome, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. There are other topics to bring to your attention. We'll talk to Tim Legler from ESPN. He'll join us coming up here. I want to talk to him about bringing the NBA back and why it's going to take 2 months to do so. Todd in Wisconsin joins us. Hi, Todd. What do you have for me today?
6'1", 220. Yes, I think Brees, he was baited with the question. I understand his point. But really what needs to happen, really the last 4 years, where has the NFL and its players been unified in this where someone's either locking arms, kneeling? So my thing that they maybe should do is not on the national anthem, but like on the sideline, raise your hand. All the players on the sideline that wants to do it, raise their hand for the whole game. And that's going to be more dramatic than one little anthem and then you move on to the game. When you're seeing players demonstrating the whole game and doing it a year after year after year, that will bring the point across.
I know, Todd, I don't want to make light of this, but holding my hands in the air for an entire game on the sidelines does not make this more dramatic. Seems unreasonable. Physically, seems problematic there. It accomplished what I think Colin Kaepernick wanted it to accomplish, and that was there was discussion. There were eyes on this. Then there was the question of, will other teams do this? Do you lock arms? Do you take a knee? But the fact that a former Green Beret is the one who said to Colin Kaepernick, don't sit on the bench, then you'll show disrespect to the flag. If you kneel, you will not. That's from a Green Beret. Now, everybody has their opinion on it. Nobody's going to change their opinion. You can hate Colin Kaepernick. You can think he's un-American. That is your opinion. We will agree to disagree. And I think that's where we are. Colin Kaepernick, to me, what he said is now playing out right in front of us. And you see the outrage and the anger. That's what he was asking you. Let's try to avoid this. Because this is the reason why he came forward is there was a 26-year-old African-American who was shot over 20 times by police. And he decided that he had to do something about this. And he came forward. He sat, nobody noticed, except for one reporter. And then he decided that he was going to take a knee. And he lost his job. And you can't bring him back now. Although somebody suggested that, hey, bring him back to Minnesota. That'll fix everything. It won't. I remember Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf did not stand for the anthem. And the fallout, I think he was told to go back into the locker room. I think there was arson. I think somebody burnt down his home in Colorado. He paid a price for that. He just didn't believe in the anthem and what it stood for. Let's bring in Tim Legler, who covers the NBA for the mothership. Not an easy segue here, Legs, but I do appreciate you. Were you in the NBA when Mahmoud was doing his silent protest?
When he was actually still Chris Jackson in Denver,
yeah.
When he was a rookie. And then I remember that playing out. I believe I still was in the league. And I think some of the context around that was like the Gulf War, and it took on a different meaning in a context. That was Americans at war with a foreign country. And I think that's why what he did, I think, got even more severe backlash at that time. But it's no doubt that it definitely cost him. But when you take a stance like that meaningful to you, when it involves anything to do with the country and a national viewpoint, you run the risk of, how are people going to interpret this? And I think that's what this, Colin Kaepernick situation has been from the beginning. It's different people's interpretation of what that means.
What was your reaction to Drew Brees and then the fallout?
Yeah, well, I think as far as Drew Brees is concerned, I think he was expressing his own point of view. But I think what we have learned over time, all of us have learned, is the way that you may interpret a particular act might not be what the original intent was. And there are times you have to listen to the other side on what the intent of that action is and really take that to heart and make that meaningful. Now, you might still disagree with it, but when you come out and make a public statement in any way that's a negative reflection of it, and basically in doing so, you are saying, I really don't understand the interpretation that you've given me on what that means. You're going to get a significant reaction. And that's exactly what happened in the case of Drew Brees. Do I think he needs to be taken to the point where you now call Drew Brees a racist or things like that? I think that just takes it too far when you look at the way he's lived his life and to what, all by all accounts, the things he's done in that community and just the kind of person that he generally is regarded as. I don't know that we need to make that leap. But I do think you need to understand there are going to be repercussions if you are going to voice an opinion that differs from what the intent of a particular action is.
Yeah, it's either black and white from the standpoint of your answers. I either agree with you or I don't. I'm either Happy for what you said, or I'm angry at what you said. I think Drew Brees is a wonderful person. By all accounts, what he's done after Katrina, the money that he donates, the importance of, his presence in that city. I just don't agree with his stance on the anthem. That's it. If he was on the show, I'd still embrace him for who he is and what he is, but we would agree to disagree. And I mean, that's the beauty. We have that luxury here, agreeing to disagree. I just don't believe that somebody is the best person in the world or the worst person in the world by what they say, what their opinion is. This is a complex issue there, and it certainly is with Drew Brees. I did want to talk some basketball with you, and the reason why we were going to have you on is we thought this was just going to be a normal Thursday where we're talking about 22 teams coming back into Orlando here. I'm confused about the format here, Legs. Why does it have to be so complicated?
Well, I think when you first get it and you start to read it, and even for a guy like myself, and I'm waiting to see what the format's going to be, they seem to finally come to a consensus. And when you first look at it, I agree. I had to read it several times to make sure I understood what was happening. But I think it's less complicated than maybe most people think it is. What it comes down to is this. They made a determination. First of all, they didn't want all 30 teams down there. I think it's a great decision. I didn't want to see teams down there playing meaningful, 5 to 8 games, whatever the number was going to be, and then shutting it down again for several months. I didn't think that made any sense whatsoever. I personally preferred just the 16 teams that were already in. There was enough of a gap between 8 and 9 in my mind that there was separation there. Let's just go and get this thing started and try to get it ended in a timely manner. What they came up with, I think, is a pretty good compromise. You keep more teams interested. There's 6 additional teams now that have an opportunity to close the gap on the 8 seed. And if you can get it within 4 games and you're in that position to be 9, you now have an opportunity to determine your own fate and play the 8 seed. And they have an advantage in that the 8 only has to beat you once. You've got to beat them twice. But at least you can control your own destiny. So I think it keeps more teams interested, more players involved, and more fans are going to be interested at a time when we desperately need interest in live sports.
We're talking to Tim Legler, ESPN NBA analyst. By the way, Legs played his first NBA season 1989-90. You played in 310 career NBA games, making just 4 starts. Is that right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, that's you get into that mode where you find a particular role. So there were times when I was playing on teams I was even playing maybe more significant minutes or more important minutes than the starter was. And then he would get hurt, but coaches would come to me and say, listen, we love what you're bringing off the bench in your particular role. We don't want to mess with that. So they would maybe even bring a guy that wasn't even playing in the rotation and then make him the start. I ran into that a couple of times. So it was the only time in my life I wasn't able to start, but I was perfectly comfortable with it.
I don't know if you saw CBS Sports came out with their top 15 shooters of all time.
I did.
Did you see it? Okay.
Did.
Now, I thought there was a recency bias there, but I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not going to have my head explode like I did when ESPN said Michael Jordan's the greatest college player of all time.
Right.
Okay. Now, when it comes to shooting, Kyle Korver's in there. Steve Kerr are in there. This was my philosophy. I just thought to be a great shooter, you have to be able to create your shot to shoot. Because if you can't get your shot off, I don't care how good a shooter you are. Am I incorrect in my approach to the greatest shooters of all time?
No, I think that's a component in it, but I don't think you can just discount the guys that primarily were spot up 3-point shooters, because to do that at the level that the guys on that list do and the percentages they shoot, how good you have to be at that, how difficult it is to get to that level. And I think those guys have to be included as well. I mean, for me, but I think they tell me a great shooter, I don't just necessarily think about the guys that can go get their own offense. I think about those guys that when it comes off their fingertip and they've got any sort of space, you've got a really high percentage of likelihood that ball is going to end up in the bottom of the net. And I have a lot of regard for those guys. I was one of those guys. So I don't think you could just discount them. I agree with you, though, in terms of the list. I was scratching my head at how low they had Chris Mullin. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. You got Mullin in there at 14th. I played with that guy in Golden State. I know firsthand he's certainly better than the 14th best shooter that's ever lived. And he was a guy that could get his own shot as well, by the way.
Well, who would you put there? Who's your top 5?
Well, I think you'd probably go Steph, Clay, right there at the top. I think Larry Bird's got to be in the top 5, which he was. I don't remember where exactly they had him in the list, but I think he was in the top 5. I think that's absolutely justified. I think Kevin Durant is a guy that you probably would have to consider because, again, it's the catch and shoot, but it's also his ability to shoot those kind of percentages from all over the floor and his ability to get to any area of the floor with a perfect shooting stroke. I don't have a problem with including Kevin Durant. And then I would look at a guy like Steve Nash.
Yep.
I think Steve Nash has to be up there because you're talking again about a guy that shoots every year practically 50 from the field, 40 to 50 from the three, 90 plus from the line, and his finishing ability. Like, that's one thing that gets discounted sometimes. And that's why Curry, for me, no question, number one, because in addition to his long range stuff, his ability to finish with floaters and runners and an array of shots with either hand, that's got to also add heavily into this. And Steve Nash was also in that category.
Yeah, I put him in there, I think, in my top 3 because of what you just said. I can shoot deep. I can have a mid-range jumper. I'm great from the line, and I can finish at the hoop. And there are very few guys in NBA history who can do all of those and shoot at a high percentage. I did want to ask you about the Zion factor with the playoffs. If you had cut and dried 8 and 8, let's say New Orleans was the 8th seed in the West, Legs, would we be having 22 teams in Orlando?
That's a great question. I know there's a lot of speculation, so I'll just give my opinion. I'll say probably not. I think that plays heavily into it. And look, if you're the league, you can't blame them. I mean, this has been devastating financially for the league, what they've gone through. So certainly when you have a guy like that was that entertaining, and I think at the time this thing shut down, he was as close to must-see TV as anybody in the league. So to include him for a minimum of 8 games and potentially more than that, I think that's a business decision for the league. And fortunately for them, the Pelicans were within striking distance that you make a really solid argument that they should be included in this. And also when you look at strength of schedule the rest of the year with Memphis and New Orleans, I think Memphis was going to have a really difficult time with their schedule to hold these teams off and hold on to that last spot.
By the way, Legs once challenged me to a 3-point shooting contest, and he was going to shoot left-handed. Do you remember when you...
I absolutely do, yeah.
Yeah.
And that offer still stands.
Man, I was so mad at you. I was like, there's no way you're going to beat me left-handed from 3-point range. But
well, listen, Dan, I'll tell you, on my 50th birthday, which was 3 years ago, all I wanted to do that day, I told my wife and my kids, and both of whom play, we're going to go to the local rec center, and I'm going to make 53s on my 50th birthday. Let's see how long it takes me. And what do you think I shot that day? To make 50, what do you think I shot overall?
I'm going to say less than 60.
I was 50 for 56. Now, I did warm up. Here's what's funny about that story. I warmed up a little bit. I did it once. I actually shot better than that, forgot to record it. So now here I am pretty winded at that point, and I'm saying, oh, my God, we got to do it again. And I really didn't think I would shoot that well. So I was pretty proud of myself. Now, they were college threes. I will say that. They weren't NBA threes. I don't shoot that deep anymore that often, but they were college threes. But I was still pretty proud of the accomplishment.
Do you think you could actually beat me shooting left-handed?
Pretty certain of it. Wow. I get a nasty left. Like when I'm just, we're talking here just shooting jumpers, uncontested.
Yeah.
Pretty good left, man. I got a pretty nasty left.
All right. I'll invite you to my dojo here in the man cave. I'll just shoot right-handed. You shoot left-handed.
Get me in there. I can't wait. Looking forward to the challenge.
Doug Gottlieb never recovered from me roasting him shooting threes.
The best chance you would have, I would say, to get me somewhere like outdoors where there are conditions that factor in. But if you got me in a climate-controlled environment, Dan, it's a problem.
We also, remember Greg Anthony tried to get involved in the conversation? And I said, Anthony, get out of here, man. You can't shoot like I can shoot. And you even said, yeah, Greg, get out of here. We basically...
Yeah, you shut that down pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can shoot 15-footers there, Greg, but that's it. These are big boy shots.
Greg's conversation is more like, listen, if we're going to do the competition, we're picking people up 94 feet and turning them 8 times before half court, you got it, man. But if it comes down to just shooting jumpers, let's, that's not not necessarily your wheelhouse.
That was great. Hey, Legs, thanks for joining us. Hope you're well, and we appreciate you joining us.
Great talking to you, Dan. Take care.
That's Tim Legler. Legs, one of the great shooters in NBA history. Yeah, Paulie.
I'm going to remember that line for a while. If you get me in a climate-controlled environment, I'm a problem.
Oh, I was so mad at him when he said that to me. We were covering the NBA Finals, and all of a sudden, Legs, like, I said, you want to shoot? And he goes, I'd beat you left-handed. I was like, you God. And then Greg Anthony tries to get involved in the conversation. I said, get out of here, Greg. You can't shoot with us. Yeah, Paulie.
I know you pretty well, and I know your confidence is that you could beat him with your right hand versus his left hand. But I also think you wouldn't want to lose that matchup because then he would never let you forget.
Yeah, that would be a bet I wouldn't take because then it would be on record as he beat me left-handed. I'd never recover. You know, that would be tough to recover. All right, we'll take a break. Phone calls. We got a lot on the menu today. Adrian Wojnarowski from the Mothership on what this grand plan. He was going to join us yesterday, and he was ready to call, and then he called Fritzy and said, I can't do it. I'm breaking a story. And he had the format for, the NBA coming back. Dana White, UFC president, will join us a little bit later on as well. Take a break. Play of the day. We'll come up with a poll question right after this. Your first All-Star game.
Oh, yeah.
Who did you want to meet?
Oh, my gosh. Well, it was 1999. I was 25, and I was literally like, I thought I won a contest, and like Piazza's right next to me, all those guys. I think I wanted to hang out with McGuire, and I wanted to know that Randy Johnson wasn't going to kill me. Like, I was like, hey, I wanted to humanize him. You know what I mean? So he was on my team. He was like, hey, nice to meet you. He had his son there. I'm like, okay, I feel better about facing him now because he just said hi to me. You know what I mean? But one of the coolest stories of that time was you were the All-Century team comes out, right? And then Ted Williams comes out, right? And it was Fenway Park and what Pedro did and all that stuff. But we're walking up to Ted Williams when he came to throw out the first pitch. And I get a pat on my shoulder. And I turn around, it's George Brett because we're all walking in. So the All-Century team comes with the players. And I'm like, it was like the first time I was speaking. The first time I was speeches, I was like, yeah. And I'm like, this guy's got 3,000 hits, like, it's unbelievable. And he's like, hey, man, hey, I just want to introduce myself, George Brett. I was like, I know who you are. He's like, man, I love your swing. I couldn't say anything. I was like, God must have been like, this guy's a total loser. You know what I mean? So, but that was one of the coolest moments of my life. At that time, George Brett patted me on the shoulder. I was like, the fact that this guy even knows who I am is unbelievable.
Did you get autographs?
Oh my gosh, I crushed him. I got great. I always felt like I was a fan. I was like, they're gonna send. I'm tricking these guys, and soon they're gonna send me down. So I'm gonna get as many autographs as I can.
Yeah, but you're hitting 350, aren't you?
I know, but still, you never know. We're gonna hit 210 and get tossed out of here, right? So I literally. First base couldn't have been better for me because I just put in the memorabilia room that I've been waiting to put in for years, right? And I counted everything. I have 180 bats signed. I have 400 baseballs. Who does that? It's ridiculous. It's a cool room now. I collected it all myself, but this is how I collected it, holding guys on. I remember one of the coolest bats I have is Tony Gwynn, right? So 32, probably 29. It's got a tennis grip on it, right? But I remember holding him on and be like, hey, man, any chance you could send a bat over to me? And he was like, what's going on here?
Wait, you're on first base.
I'm on first base. They'd get their lead. I'm like, hey, any chance you could send a bat over? These guys are like, who's this guy? I'm like, man, I was like, I know you're 15 years in the league, but this is my second, and I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So if you could just send a ball and a bat over, that'd be great. I remember running into McGuire one time, like, hey, what's up, Big Mac? Going to the cage, like, hey, you mind sending a bat over to me? Everyone's doing it, So it's cool. So I have a lot of cool stuff that I collected just because.
What's the one thing, though, that if you got to get out of the house, that's you're grabbing one?
You know what? The one thing that I love, Pearl Jam in 2013. Isn't that funny? I'm like, well, the Tony Gwynn bat, I'm probably going to get that. And then, Vedder and I were hanging out one night at the Clementi Museum in Pittsburgh. Have you ever been there?
No.
In Pittsburgh, you guys got to go. It's called Engine House 25. This guy, Dwayne Reeder, has an unbelievable Clementi Museum, and there's a winery downstairs. So Pearl Jam was opening up Friday night. This is Tuesday night, and we're hanging out, just having some wine, smoking a cigar, and just talking baseball. And he was like, hey, what do you want to hear Friday night? And I was like, really? All right, cool. He's asking me what I want to hear Friday night. So I go into a bunch of things. Ed pulls out a pick, writes 6 songs on it, right? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So then we go to the show on Friday. He plays all the songs I asked him to play. And after the show, he's like, hey, here's the pick from Tuesday night. So I don't know why, but I'm getting that pick. You know, it's in a frame, but I'm breaking the frame, taking that pick out. If there's a fire, and I'm out of there.
Okay, but how do you hook up with Eddie Vedder to begin with?
You know what? 2003, we're playing the Cubs. 6 games to go in the season. It's been like one of the worst seasons ever. Everyone's on the DL. Jason LaRue and I are the only 2 guys that have finished the season, right? So like when you're 30 games out and there's 6 games to go, you're literally running the sprints before the game going, how am I going to make it through 6 more games? I don't think I can do it, right? So after the game, we come in, and there's a guy sitting there with short blonde hair. Like at the time, you could see he had dyed his hair. And he was sitting with Cardinal. And Jose Cardinal was Ed's like idol growing up in Chicago. And Cardinal was our first base coach, one of the greatest coaches I had, just such a great guy. And we met him that night. He ended up playing a song for us in the clubhouse. We asked him, which was so nice. We stayed afterwards, and everyone hung out, and that's how I first met him. And then really kind of met him again in 2008 with Theo Epstein.
Of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Check this out.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to shot. LA has outscored Portland 25-4 in the last 9 minutes and 50 seconds.
On this day 20 years ago, Kobe threw the iconic alley-oop to Shaq to seal Game 7, Western Conference Finals against the Blazers. They went on to beat the Pacers in the finals and win the first of that three-peat. That's courtesy of NBC. Bob Costas, the voice on the call. Play of the day brought to you by Traeger. Welcome to the Traeger Hood. Wood-fire difference. Contact your local dealer. Visit TraegerGrills.com/DP Show. McLevin, do we have a poll question?
We were debating which matchup do you want to see in the NBA Finals. Now that we actually have a field, is it clearly the Lakers-Bucks, or are there any other teams that you want to see sneak in here?
Well, you have to factor in Lakers-Clippers.
Now, by the way, I'm sorry, are they going to cross conferences? What's the latest? Actually, they are crossing conferences.
It's just going to be 1 through 16, it feels like. And this will be the only time it's going to happen. But unless they embrace this, but I think it's still going to be Eastern Conference, Western Conference because of travel. You got to have a balanced schedule. But this will be probably the only time we ever see this where you're just seated in accordance to what your record is 1 through 16, not any designation. Because everybody is there in Orlando. If this was going to be Vegas and Orlando, then you probably would have kept the separation there. Yeah, Paul.
Would you guys like to see Lakers-Rockets, assuming it was possible?
Sure.
How saucy.
At this stage, I would take Lakers-Memphis right now, Paulie.
All right.
And by the way, I know that I'm kind of made fun of the NBA and their schedule, their format. It's a little confusing. I would rather have the NBA's confusing format than no format at all, Major League Baseball. It's not good when you have negotiations that go like this. Hey, here's our proposal. It's not even worth a counter proposal. And that's where we are with Major League Baseball. Hey, would you rather have an average dinner or no dinner at all? I'll take the average dinner. That's all I'm asking for Major League Baseball. Just give me an average dinner here. Let's just get through this. Yeah, McLevin.
Speaking as a Sixers fan, do you think there's any chance like the outcome of this sort of condensed season will be completely wild, like NCAA tournament wild, where the top seeds will go down and you'll have a bunch of 3, 4, 5 seeds in the finals, which is kind of unusual?
I don't know, when you hit the ground running, how long does it take to get in shape? And then you have these 8 games that you're going to play. And then who are you matched against? Like, are you going to go through a really difficult matchup before you get to another difficult matchup? Or you get tested, are you going to be doing 7-game series here? How often are you playing? Are you going to play 2 games in 2 days and then you're off? Because it used to be, hey, you play a game, another game, or a day off, 2 days off, 3 days off, or 4 days off. This is different now. And I think the conditioning of the players is going to be amplified. It's a more condensed schedule. And there's no travel, but you're going to be playing more games. I think that would be something that will be interesting to watch. Jeff in Milwaukee joins us this morning. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, I'm talking about Brees, and I'm not going to criticize Brees for his opinion. There's time with other areas when the anthem has been really powerful. So I'm there with him on that. But when you compare it to Rodgers and what he posted yesterday, he posted a picture from a game a couple years ago.
Yep.
I think it was a Thursday night game. He's locked arms with his teammates. He heard the complaints from the other side about taking a knee and said, okay, we're not going to do that, but we're not going to be silent either. And I think that's what we're really missing right now is just listening to the other side. He listened, and there's this picture of this guy in the stands, a Packer fan, just screaming his head off because he's mad at him for locking arms.
Yep.
It makes no sense.
I know, and there have been powerful moments. I was there when Whitney Houston sang the anthem in Tampa, and that's one of the more remarkable performances I've ever seen. It was stirring, and I had to fly over. We're all proud. We all love our country. It's just some love it in a different way, or want to love it more but can't. Or does the country really love them? I saw where George Clooney had a tweet where he said, African Americans have been through a pandemic that's lasted 400 years. Drew Brees did issue an apology. We did reach out to Drew. We reached out to all the principals here. Not sure if we'll hear from him, but if we do, we'd love to have him on. We've always loved to have him on. 1 hour in the books, 2 more to go. Seton, Paulie, Fritzy, McLovin, yours truly here, Dan Patrick Show. A favorite Larry Bird story?
I don't tell Larry Bird stories.
Do you tell Michael Jordan
Larry
stories?
Bird. Larry is such a unique personality. I don't have necessarily stories on him. What challenges me is I marvel at people who think the guy is a hick. Larry is one of the smartest, pragmatic people I know. And my mother, God rest her soul, was very bright. Coach Knight and Bill Russell are probably the 2 brightest people that I know. Larry is maybe right under that in that category. And when people keep talking about him being a hick, Larry understood what he understands as well as anybody is personalities and people. And that's why he would do his junk talking for airing here on radio, because he understood people who would let that bother them and what they would do when it bothered them. That's the way Larry, that was his gamesmanship. So that's really the only story I can tell you about Larry. I just think he's one of the brightest guys that I know. So that's my story on Larry. What else you want to know?
Well, okay. Didn't we talk about this before when you guys played the Chicago Bulls first round of the playoffs and you guys went out? It might have been you and Roby, and you went out with Bird and the Chicago Bull cheerleaders bought you beers, figuring that they could get Larry drunk, and then Larry lit him up, and then walked off the floor and walked by the cheerleaders and said, "Thanks for the beers"?
I didn't tell you the story, but the story is true. that is very typically Larry.
Okay, all right.
Because he knew right away. He knew what was happening. He knew right away what was happening. And again, okay, so we talk about motivation. For Larry, that's another motivation for him. So he could have that in his mind. So when he walked off the court, you know, he can let you know, hey, you can do whatever you want. Doesn't make a difference to me.
I love that.
But that's Larry.
I love that. That he knows that the cheerleaders are buying him beers, and then he just thanked him for the beers after I think you guys eliminated the Bulls. You're okay. So you don't tell Bird stories. Do you have you were best friends with Bird and with Michael Jordan? I mean, but you don't. Do you tell Jordan stories? You got a Jordan story for me?
No, I don't have a Jordan story for you. I really don't. Michael is obviously he's done very well. He's a very bright guy. Their personalities are very similar. You know, they're both a little bit OCD, whether you believe it or not, and you can tell it by. And this may sound strange to people. You can tell it when you walk into their houses. Everything has a place. Both of them.
Uh-oh.
And I think it speaks to they need order in order for them to have their success, because that's just the way they're wired. So that means it's about a process. And both of them are very process-oriented guys, and I think that's why they've had success, not only in the league, but since they've been out of the league. But I don't really tell a lot of stories. I'm not a storyteller. That's probably why I'm still their friend.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't speak out of school when it comes to that. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Each of the 22 teams will play 8 regular season games in Orlando for seeding purposes, sources tell ESPN. The play-in format requires a double elimination format for the 8th seed, a single elimination for the 9th seed. If the 9th seed is more than 4 games behind the 8th seed, the number 8 makes the playoffs. Fewer than 4 games, it's a play-in tournament.
Huh? What?
I'm trying to stay with this one.
Dan Patrick.
Vic Fangio is the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
We're a league of meritocracy. You earn what you get what you earn. I don't see racism. We're lucky.
There's a lot of people who lack self-awareness. There are other teams or owners that maybe you could call out. There is racism. He may not see it. He hasn't experienced it, but it is there.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Thursday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Spent a large portion of the first hour talking about Drew Brees, comments he made yesterday morning. I actually thought when I saw the interview, I thought, oh, when was this? Because I didn't know Drew Brees, why he was trending. I was thinking, Drew sat down with Yahoo Finance and he started talking about the anthem. He was asked about this. He was asked about protest and the anthem, and Drew gave a long answer that we played in its entirety with the question included. He has since issued an apology. We played Malcolm Jenkins, a portion of his response on Instagram to Drew Brees and their teammates. Michael Thomas has been very vocal about Drew Brees and really being out of touch and basically saying, we don't care what you think, Drew, about this. I've given you my opinion on Kaepernick, about this whole issue here, even with Drew Brees. Great respect for him, great admiration for him. He's always been wonderful on this show. We disagree on his approach to what happened with Colin Kaepernick. Does it mean, you can still be friends. You can still have respect for somebody if you don't agree with them. It's just, that's called a relationship, or that's being a human. And we invited him on the show. But he did issue a lengthy apology about maybe lack of public awareness or sensitivity with his teammates there. That's what, when you're on a team and you're a leader, you have to listen and understand what everybody thinks or feels. And I said this, and I'll get off my soapbox, but if Kaepernick is willing to risk everything, including his life because there were death threats, he risked his career, it cost him his career. Aren't you curious why somebody would be that passionate, that devoted, that willing to do that? Whether you agree with it or not, you still want to understand why. And when you find out more to the why, and when you have a former Green Beret who says, don't sit on the bench, kneel to show respect. If you sit, you don't show respect for the flag. And he does have military in his background. Most of these players who have done this have military in their background. Parents, grandparents, police officers in their background. Understanding why it was so important is so important. It's a time to listen. And there's nothing wrong with making people uncomfortable to listen. And that's always been my point with it. I may not like what Kaepernick did with the Fidel Castro T-shirt or socks that say cops are pigs. There are great police officers, great, wonderful people. Can't lump them all in. Fidel Castro T-shirt, not good. Lost me on that. But everything else that he talked about, stood for, knelt for, I at least understand. And I think that's all that the African-American community is saying. Just listen. Just listen. You may not understand, but at least try. Rod Walker, sports columnist for the Times-Picayune, the New Orleans Advocate, kind enough to join us this morning. Rod, good morning. Thanks for joining us. What's the local reaction here with Drew Brees from yesterday?
I think you sort of saw it all over social media yesterday, what you saw the other athletes across the country saying. Those are the same sentiments here in New Orleans. In fact, they had a protest here, they're still protesting here in New Orleans, and there was some chants of F Drew Brees, and they didn't say F, you said what F stands for. And, I would have never imagined that you'd hear those chants in the city of New Orleans. I mean, you know how beloved Drew Brees is here. So that tells you, just how frustrated people were with hearing his remarks on yesterday.
Do you think he's being unfairly attacked in this city?
No, because I think the timing of it, and, it's funny you mentioned when you saw the article yesterday, how you thought it was an old article. That's exactly what I thought too. Someone sent me the link to it. I said, this must be from 2017. And it wasn't. It was from yesterday morning. And I was just shocked because of, there was that's being tone deaf. I mean, if you look at what's been going on in this country for the past 10 days, it's pretty clear that we have a problem, and the whole world is out there protesting and basically crying for help. And, it's almost like he just dismissed all of that with what he said on yesterday.
Yeah, I think if there had been mention of Minneapolis and George Floyd to go along with his, look, we don't have to agree. We don't agree. But that's the beauty of this country. We get that opportunity to not agree. I think the lack of public awareness is what hurt Drew Brees here. And if you start with, it's unbelievable. It's shocking. It's a shame that a man died in front of us, George Floyd, and what these protests and all those things. And then if you talk about your stance on the flag, okay, at least you soften that a little bit to have perspective there. And I was just surprised because Drew Brees is as media savvy as any athlete in America here. And it was, it was disheartening because I do have great respect for him. I was just surprised. The teammates coming out, though, Rod, that Michael Thomas, Malcolm Jenkins, how do you recover from that if you're Drew Brees?
I think he took the first step this morning, just by apologizing. But I don't think this is a quick fix. I think this is like getting cheated on by your girlfriend or something. It takes some time to heal, and I think he's going to, I think it's going to take him some time. And I think the players may accept him quicker than the fans will, just because the players, at least they'll get a chance to be around him every day, and they'll see if he's genuine and if they believe in him or not. Fans only see Drew Brees on Sundays, so for them, it'll be for the fans who were disappointed. It'll take some time for them to get back on the Drew Brees train.
If I said you could sit down and ask Drew one question, what would it be?
I think that question would probably just be, what are you going to do to show that, that your apology was sincere?
And I don't know what you can do. There's nothing magical because now it's not words, it's actions. And he has shown a willingness to help this community. The view nationally is he was there and he stepped up and he donated money and he's Mr. New Orleans. And I don't know if he recaptures that, but it feels like there's a little bit of work that's left to be done. And I don't know if I was his business partner, marketing agent, PR person, I don't know what advice I would give Drew Brees right now.
I don't either. Again, I think it's just going to be something that takes a lot of time. I think the step that he took today with his apology, he didn't apologize for hurting people. He apologized because he sounded like he really thought he was wrong. And, you just got to hope that people believe in what you're saying. And again, it's his actions. Drew's done more for this city than most people that have ever come through here. He's the most beloved athlete to ever come through New Orleans. And, he gets some credit for that. And that's something that people definitely take into account. But it's still it'll always be in the back of people's mind, I think. And, 10, 15 years from now, when we're talking about Drew Brees, you have to wonder if people are going to have that, but that might be part of his mark.
Rod, good to visit with you. We appreciate your time as always. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
That's Rod Walker, sports columnist, The Times Picayune. Yeah, I don't know. Usually what happens is you'll have a PR firm that will help you in a situation like this and say, all right, here's our strategy here. He took the first step in that strategy, and that is to issue an apology. I think as he moves forward, sitting down with his teammates to ask, why were they so mad at him? Why is this so passionate? And maybe it seems obvious, but you want to make sure that you give your teammates an opportunity to express their anger to you. It's probably the first start here. I don't know about the fans. Fans can be fickle. Maybe it's just, hey, go back there and start winning football games. But listening is probably the first step, and Drew mentions that. Keith in Texas joins us. Hi, Keith. What do you have for me today?
6'2", 240. Okay, so my question is, kind of a byproduct of sports these days is getting all this access to athletes where you can ask them questions like Drew was asked. Drew asked Drew for his opinion. He gave it, and then he was, criticized and caught all the backlash for what he said. So at what point is the media and all these different outlets going to be asking athletes questions, and they can no longer give their honest opinion, and they have to lie, because if they say no comment, the backlash comes. And the other side of that is what it sounds to me like is there's a lot of people out there in this country that are tired of not having their voice heard. And when someone gives their opinion, instead of telling them to shut the expletive up, maybe listening to, and now we're suppressing his opinion. And we're trying to get away from suppression in general. Everyone has a voice and everyone should be heard. I don't understand how we can only listen. You can only hear one side of the fence without there being a problem.
Well, I can listen and I can disagree, though, Keith. Drew Brees has always been able to give his opinion. I'm not saying the Saints should cut him. I just disagree with his approach on it, and I disagree in having this opinion in what is going on now. That's it. It doesn't change my feelings towards Drew Brees if I see him. I invited him on the show. And if anything, to help explain how he got to this point. But, he issued a statement. That's fine. But we did offer that opportunity. I'm not suppressing anybody. I want to hear. Drew Brees got a chance to say something. His teammates got a chance to say something. I didn't suppress anything. I played you the entire context of the question and his answer. I gave you context because I could just extract something and make this a whole lot worse or a whole lot better. But I'm not picking sides here. I'm giving sides. Declan in Iowa joins us. Hey, Declan.
Hi. I just wanted to share a comment. I'm a 100% disabled veteran, and I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I struggle with survivor guilt that I made it home and my friends did not. And that same flag is the same flag that they drape over coffins when they bring the soldiers home. So for veterans that have experienced that, it is troubling when the flag is mentioned where a knee should be taken or the comments that Drew made. Love you guys. I will listen to the show all the time.
Declan, do you have a problem with Kaepernick taking a knee as a veteran?
Well, it's hard for me to say that because obviously there's a problem with – he did make a – I didn't have a problem with him taking a knee, but I had a problem with not understanding how it affects veterans when he does something like that. I wish there was another way that he could have made his voice heard without doing that.
Well, and I understand the sensitivity, Declan, and thank you. Thank you for your service. He tried to do it other ways. There have been attempts, and this was a peaceful protest. Like now we see violence, and then, hey, why can't we do this peacefully? He was doing it peacefully. It's a sensitive topic. It's always going to be. But if you take it out of context and say he doesn't like America or doesn't like the flag, he's not standing for the flag. But it had the same vitriol when you see somebody with their hat on during the anthem or they're going up to get a beer during the anthem. Does anybody get upset at that? Kaepernick risked his life, certainly his career, and what he was saying. And go back through the history books. We're not all created equal, treated equally. We're just not. And Drew brings up his great-grandfathers or grandfathers. I'm sure that there are African Americans whose grandfathers fought in World War I or World War II. They came home, they didn't get the same benefits, the GI Bill. They didn't set them up with housing, school. They didn't get the same benefits. But you're fighting under the same flag. And that's what Colin Kaepernick is pointing out. Okay? We can agree to disagree. But we can still listen to one another. I've already had people who, and if you call in, just be respectful to Marvin. It's not, it's not his job to be taking, some of the things that are being said back there when he answers the phones. Just be respectful. If you don't want to listen or you're turning off the show, then do it. You don't have to call in to say you're doing that. If we've gotten to this point where you listen and you watch, now's the reason why you don't want to listen or watch anymore, then what were you doing? I haven't changed. But we don't have to agree on everything. We'll take a break here. Rex Chapman wrote a really powerful column, and I wanted to have him on. Former Kentucky great and played in the NBA. And I thought he had some really interesting things, some enlightening things to say about him growing up around African Americans, dating African Americans, just sort of everything that happened growing up in Kentucky. And I thought Rex had some really interesting points. But phone calls are welcome. Just be polite when you're talking to Marvin. This should not be part of his day. All right? Please just do that. And even chat row, just be respectful. That's all. I'm being respectful with you. Be respectful with us. That's all. Not asking much more than that. 17 after the hour. Take a break. Dana White, UFC Prez, will join us a little bit later on. And Adrian Wojnarowski at the top of the hour on the new NBA plans. Back after this. You check things all the time, your email, your Instagram, social media. Check something important, really important, your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores. Score used by 90% of top lenders. And they're going to give that to you for free even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit. And you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard is free for everyone, even if you're not a customer. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations do apply. Of the 222 home runs, I think that's your total, that you hit, did you ever really watch one? Did you admire one a little too long?
I don't think so. I think the one time that I may have pimped one a little bit, it was in old Chicago, Comiskey, and I remember not feeling good that day. I was kind of beat up, kind of feel like I had a little cold coming on. And the first time up, they threw like 3 balls behind me. And I didn't even think about it, really, because those days you were like, okay, he's trying to pitch me in, whatever. Then as I sit there in between them, I'm like, he tried to hit me every time, every pitch right there. And I got somebody, and I got the lefty the next time up. He hung me a curveball, I hit him out, and I probably took a little long to get around the bases on that one.
Why were they throwing that at you?
You never know. Like, in the past, honestly, guys would throw at you. It was really a sense of respect because they wanted to find out, hey, this guy's doing damage. I'm going to fire some balls in there and see if he still wants to cover that outside part of the plate.
Wow.
So there was some respect there when guys, wanted to knock you down. But, I'm not quite sure the reason. It was it was Tony. It was La Russa with the White Sox then, and I don't feel like I did anything other than maybe we hit somebody in there, and it was kind of a payback. I'm not sure.
Was it Floyd Bannister?
No, it was. I think it was Juan Augusto. Is the guy I hit the homer off of, and he gave me all kinds of trouble, but it seemed he hung me one on that one.
Hey, did you ever challenge? Did you go to the mound?
I don't think I ever went to the mound. I got frustrated. I remember getting hit in Oakland, another Tony.
Maybe it's La Russa didn't like you.
No, I love Tony. I think he's great. We hit Mac. I think Dave LaPointe hit him, and he hit him in the head. And he'd been hit a couple of times that year. But it was a 3-1 pitch, and he's trying to get in. And Oakland had all those monsters at the time, and they kind of stood on the plate and just dared you. If you didn't pitch them in, they were going to kill you.
Yeah.
And so we hit Mac, and it's like I'm the third hitter, 2 outs, nobody on, and kind of first baseman for first baseman, and Dave Stewart hit me right in the middle of the back. And it was almost like as soon as he started winding up, I seen his eyes turn. It wasn't nowhere near the plate. And that one kind of irritated me, but he got me right. I mean, he got me good. So, but, that's just one of those things.
But you hit McGuire, then you knew. Did you know going up there, they're probably going to take it out on me?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What a weird sport. These unwritten rules of baseball. Damn. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, there's some of that going on. And that's, obviously it's changing. I don't think, obviously the league is, a few years back really tried to, keep that stuff away. You talk about doing it the right way when you hit a guy low and things like that. But with guys in velocity and command is not as good, I don't think, as it was in the past. More guys throwing harder, but a little wilder. That thing gets way up by your head. You understand you don't want anybody getting hit where it's, ending a career. And it's dangerous. Those balls run. That lefty on lefty or righty on righty, that thing that gets away usually runs right up towards the head. And it's dangerous if guys can't command it. And they're the one trying to, say, hey, I'm going to get this guy because of whatever. And he can't command it. It gets dangerous.
I remember Rob Dibble hit Tim Tuffle in the middle of the back, right in the middle of his back. And I swear to God, that baseball stayed in the middle of his back for like a second. He hit him. He hit him with 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's almost it left a dent, and the ball was just staying there. And I think
dropped straight down, right?
Yes. And Tuffle wanted to go out and challenge Dibble, and I think he knocked the wind out of him with that pitch. I can't imagine you get, like if you hit me in the hip, okay, but in the middle of the back, it's got to knock the breath out of you.
To be honest with you, it doesn't matter really where you get hit. If you get hit solid with a baseball, it doesn't feel good. No matter where you get it, you can see how guys get irritated because they do not feel good. That baseball can be hard.
Dropping my papers here. This program brought to you by Traeger. Taste the wood-fired difference. TraegerGrills.com/Dan Patrick Show. Also, this program brought to you by the great folks at Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT 4-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our interviews from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG, driving performance. Rex Chapman, former NBA player, Kentucky star, he wrote an article. It was in the Lexington Herald-Leader, and the headline is Injustice, Double Standards, and Heartbreaking Bigotry, Rex Chapman on Race in America. Rex, kind enough to join us from Kentucky this morning. Rex, what made you write it?
Oh, man, Dave. Dan, sorry. I've been on 17 different Zooms recently. I was asked a few questions the other day after George Floyd's murder, and it took me 3 or 4 days to just put my thoughts together. And I really don't want to speak too off the cuff about this stuff right now, just because I think I've said what I've said, and it's probably a little bit above my pay grade. I'm just a former basketball player. I grew up with black and white friends, and all of this has just been absolutely heartbreaking. I feel a little bit broken. Drew Brees' comments yesterday didn't help. And certainly didn't help me feel any better. I can't imagine it made any of his peers feel any better. So we're going through a tough time. And I do think, and this sounds just awful to say out loud, but it's going to take white people with voices in order to help get us past this, or at least make it somewhat more bearable right now. This is, I've not seen anything like this. And I was born in the 60s, grew up in Kentucky for 18 years. And so I know it from a personal level, but I don't know it from, I'm white. I'm white. If we're not listening to what, our black friends, people of color are saying right now, and we just have our opinions, we're not going to make any progress.
Yeah, I have echoed those same sentiments, that we move on so quickly in our society that it wasn't long ago where you had an unarmed black man who was just jogging in a community in a neighborhood in Atlanta or Georgia and got shot, murdered. We moved on. And then, Eric Garner, I can't breathe. Like, we just move on. And if we continue to move on, then none of this is going to matter, it feels like. And that's the sad part of all of this.
Yeah. I don't know, Dan. I'm a little bit at a loss. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words right now. Sorry.
But it hit you pretty hard here.
Yeah, here's one thing I don't understand. We pay, and I've started noticing this when I was young. We encourage our kids to go play and do and watch sports, be like that guy, entertainers. We'll spend our hard-earned money on season tickets to go to these games, and we worship our black athletes and entertainers, but don't bring them home. Don't come home to date my son and daughter. And that to me is one of the saddest things that I've seen in my lifetime. I don't know how we get past that. You grew up in Ohio. I grew up in Kentucky. And I know a lot of people that feel like white people are just supposed to marry white people, and that's the way it goes. And if you date a black person or you marry a black person, you're marked. You know this, and I know this. You're marked. What is that?
What was the reaction when you were dating an African American when you're at Kentucky?
Not pleasant. Not pleasant. I mean,
and you're the star of the basketball team.
Yeah. It was all real confusing. Look, I was just coming to school to play basketball and be myself. And I grew up with white kids and black kids from the time I was 7 or 8 years old. My dad played basketball, and his friends, many of his friends, lived in the projects in Owensboro. So I would be dropped off down there and hang with my friends in the projects, play basketball. It's where I learned to play basketball. I've lost my train of thought.
It's all right. You know what? Let me change topics here.
Thanks.
Unless, would you rather not do this? Because I want to be
going.
respectful. Look, I know it's.
Yeah. No, look, man. This is stuff that needs to be talked about. My point was, I was just going to play basketball. I was a teenager. And I didn't think about the basketball part for me was very easy at Kentucky, very easy. I mean, aside from all the conditioning and stuff you do when you get to school, the actual basketball part was easy. It was the other stuff that was hard, trying to live up to. And look, not only to what people wanted me to do with my dating, but, look, I didn't care about school. I didn't. And I should have, but I didn't. I could make good grades, but they wanted me, people wanted me to be the all-American guy, make good grades, be, all academic, and just sort of portray that all-American image. And I've struggled with that my whole life because I'm not that guy. I'm just me. I'm not trying to be what you want me to be. I'm just trying to be myself. And honest to goodness, Dan, I got in trouble for shoplifting a few years ago. And it's hard for me to even say that. You know me, or you've known me forever. I've never been in trouble. And I went down a path of addiction to where I actually stole something. But nobody's ever called me a thug. Nobody. And I played with teammates for years who were portrayed as thugs. Not a one of them had ever gotten in trouble. My feeling on it was that it's not about thuggish behavior. It's about whether you've got tats and cornrows. And that bothers me. I played with several guys my whole career, in and out, with and against, who really the media always say, he's a thug. He's a thug. Or people would say that. And it couldn't have been further from the truth. Just had cornrows, maybe some tats, maybe dreads. I don't know. I do know that people are afraid of things they don't really understand. And I've never understood how you can look at someone and not actually want to get to know them. And listen, we can generalize all we want, Dan. you never truly know a person's pain until you've sat and talked with that individual person.
Yeah.
You don't know what their pain is.
We're talking to Rex Chapman, former NBA player, former Kentucky star. I go back and I looked at video. That was painful for me to see that video of you shoplifting, and I'm going, I had been with you, and I came in that day, and I said, that can't be the guy that I've known for a long, like, socialized with you. And then look, we have people that are close to us who have been addicts, or there's an addiction, or drinking, or whatever, it's pills. And I just said, you're no different than anybody else. You're susceptible to this. But golly, I can't believe that's you in that video.
I know, man. And I walked around for many years just kind of numb from the painkillers. But yeah, I don't know. This is difficult. I'm glad. I'll be ready for us to talk horse racing and basketball, and maybe even John Calipari to the Lakers at some point.
There you go. There you go. Oh, I love that. When all of a sudden I'm going, oh, Rex has Calipari going to the Lakers. Man, did you catch grief?
Oh, man, did I. But you know what? The positive about that was I was so messed up on the painkillers, I didn't really think about it too much.
No names here.
Yeah.
What's the best recruiting enticement you got? Because you were one of the great high school players in America. You don't have to name names.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me what Kentucky gave you. But what is the best enticement you got coming out of high school?
Yeah, I don't really know what you're talking about, but hypothetically, sarcastically.
Yes, of course. Hypothetically, what could have been the nicest thing?
Hypothetically, one of the sweetest things, and I'll go ahead and say this because I don't think it was a recruiting violation. Back in the day, Wildcat Lodge, where the players stay, and
Kentucky basketball players stay.
Kentucky basketball dorm.
Yeah.
For a while, it was just players in there, but then the NCAA said, "No, this place is too nice. You got to have regular students in there as well." So regular students stayed downstairs. I don't know, a dozen of them. But I put two of my best friends, Kevin and Keith Vanderpool. They're twins. Grew up. We played pee wee football together, high school basketball together, everything. They came and lived in the lodge.
Wait, that's not juicy. Come on.
I know. What do you want?
Did somebody offer you a car?
I don't know.
That's a yes.
I don't know. No.
A bag of cash?
Nobody offered me anything.
Did somebody offer somebody you knew something?
I don't know about that.
Did you ever get a $100 handshake at Kentucky, Rex Chapman?
From my mom and dad.
Oh, boy. Your dad didn't have $100.
No, because he bet the pick six at Ellis Park the previous day.
By the way, Rex went hardship. Back then,
right.
When you went early, you went hardship there.
You and I joke about that, but let's think about that a little bit, right? At this point in time with all the race stuff.
Yeah.
We joke about that.
Oh, there's a label attached to you.
It is, but also it's a label. It used to be. What did it used to mean, Dan? You tell me.
Well, that you didn't have money, that you had to help out your family.
Right. And the reason it's interesting that I went hardship, it's really not because we didn't have a lot of money. We really didn't. But almost everyone else who's ever gone hardship is black. You and I joke about it, and it is kind of funny and all that. I went hardship. You leave early now, but hardship back in the day meant, something different, I think.
I was trying to think how many white players went hardship.
Only one that I can think of and I don't know if you probably do know this. I remember finding out one day I was getting ready to play the Dallas Mavericks, I was 18 or 19 or 20 years old, rookie. And I was looking through the game notes and saw where, studying kind of my matchups and whatnot for the night, came across Brad Davis. Remember Brad Davis?
Yeah.
Left early. I never knew that.
Did he go hardship?
Well, what else do you go?
Well, I don't know. Wasn't he
left before his.
He was at Maryland.
Yes, he left before his eligibility.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I just remember you went hardship. I don't remember Brad Davis going hardship.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not a lot, but there's one now that I know of, and that's Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero.
By the way, you played good defense for a change on the Kentucky questions. That was, and you never played defense.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
They must have loved when they probably circled it when they were playing the Hornets. Like,
Go at him.
Like Jordan probably went, who do I? I got Rex Chapman.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, better guard me on the other end, though.
Whoa. Okay. What did you think of the Jordan documentary?
Loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. I know Michael's taking some grief over this, but I got to tell you, he was different, man. He was different. And
could you have been his teammate?
Yes, I would have loved to. Do you know this? This is something that's also heartbreaking for me to think about sports-wise. Michael had gone to play baseball, and I was kind of coming in my own in Washington and was having a really good year. In fact, I was about to make the All-Star team, and the day that they announced the All-Stars, I dislocated my ankle. Prior to that, there was a deal that was basically almost done for me to go to Chicago for Ron Harper. And Ron had come in Michael's absence, and he was kind of limping around and he couldn't really score like he used to. And so then I dislocated my ankle. They kept Ron. Michael came back, and they went on this whole damn thing. So my story's way more tragic than you know. Oh, but I'll say this, Dan. Michael called me in high school for Dean to go to Carolina. He was probably first or second year player in the league, and that was cool and everything. But then we had the same agent forever, David Falk.
Wait. So Jordan calls you. You're a senior in high school.
Yeah, junior.
A junior in high school.
Yeah.
And he says, how does that? So mom picks up the phone and goes,
No. Better. It's even better. Back in the day, there's only a landline, in your house. And me and my sister, she's a year younger. The phone was a whole big deal. And every time recruiters called, the rule for my sister Jenny was Jenny had to get off the phone if a recruiter called in. So she hated me and hated the whole thing. And Dean had told me Michael was going to be calling, and I was home, but the phone rang. I guess she was on the phone, and she clicks over and says hello, and he says, "Hi, this is Michael Jordan. Can I talk to Rex?" And she hung up on him. He called right back, and I guess she figured it out.
How did you turn? So now you know why Michael lit you up that one night, because you turned down Carolina. He holds grudges, Rex.
No, man. But the thing about that, I'd go to Kentucky, and then I signed with David, and then Michael and I became friends, and we played golf together. We'd go bowling together and whatnot. And what I want to say is that you saw the interviews that Michael gave in high school, and that he gave, a couple years there at Carolina. I'm proud of him, man. I'm proud of where he's come from and what he's done. He didn't have to figure out the media like I do, some journeyman NBA schlepping around the league. He had to learn how to be polished on camera and say things and not be inflammatory. He's worked hard to get where he's gotten. And yeah, I know he takes a lot of grief, and maybe rightfully so at some point. I love that man. I love Michael Jordan. But I'll tell you one other little story quickly. He beat me almost every time we ever played. my year in Miami, we beat them, fluky game. I got 38 or 39. The year they went 72-10.
Yeah.
And we beat them at our place. They ended up sweeping us like we were a JV team in the first round of the playoffs. But this is regular season, and I had a big game, and they partied all night on South Beach. And I know they did because I was there. And so I had a big game, and we played them again, regular season game again, about 2 weeks later. Jump ball. And again, Michael and I are friends. You know, we'll play on the floor and all that, but I almost never beat him. Almost never. And as soon as the ball was thrown up that next meeting, as soon as the ball went in the air, he went and elbowed me right in the sternum. Right in, and I went, oh, and then said, shit, it's going to be like this tonight. and guess what? It was. He played, I think he got like 35 and didn't play the fourth quarter, and I got like 13 on 3 for 13. So
he was apologizing in advance of putting a beating on you?
Yeah, well, no, he didn't. I said it's going to be like that tonight in my head. I was like, oh shit. And it was, you know, and then I got a good full dose of it in 3 playoff games where he was all business in championship mode. So he's the best I've ever played against. He's just different.
Hey, I love you. Thanks
You too,
for
buddy.
making us laugh. And we'll talk.
Yeah,
All right.
will.
Thanks, buddy.
Dan.
That's
Love it.
Rex Chapman, former NBA player and Kentucky Star. The column they wrote is Injustice, Double Standards, Heartbreaking Bigotry. He wrote on race in the Lexington Herald-Leader. Take a break. Back after this. Better athlete, you or Jordan?
Athlete?
Yeah.
What is your definition of an athlete?
I don't know.
I think an athlete has the ability to do multiple things.
Okay.
At a very high level.
Could Michael have played baseball at a high
You're
level?
forgetting a profound guy in this conversation, Bo Vincent Jackson. If it wasn't for Bo, it wouldn't be no prime. So let's start with Bo.
Is Bo the best athlete?
I believe so.
See, I would argue Jackie Robinson's the greatest athlete of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most important athlete because if I look at baseball, was his fourth best
You're
sport.
talking about importance. There's a different.
No, but also
to a different conversation.
No. I'm talking about importance, but I'm also talking about baseball was his fourth best sport.
Okay.
He played basketball and football at UCLA. He ran track and field, and he played baseball. And he went in the Hall of Fame as a baseball player.
Okay.
Nobody mentions that.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not. See, the thing about it, you got to be careful because you don't want to minimize anything.
Yes,
you don't want to do
right.
Jackie Robinson.
That's what these arguments devolve
the
into.
level of today's time, what Bo Jackson displayed was unbelievable. I mean, Mike Jordan is like me. He couldn't hit the curveball, all right? I'm still waiting on the curve, all right? So, and Bo could.
Who was the pitcher that you just went, I got no chance?
Everybody with a left hand. Everybody with a left hand.
Did you? So Randy Johnson?
Dude, they put me in Arizona one time. I'm over there chilling, knowing I'm not going to play. Randy Johnson is pitching.
Uh-oh.
And they going to grab me off the bench in like the 7th. Hey, we want you to pinch hit. For what? For what? This guy's finger rolling the ball at 6'9". You know, I mean, he's just finger rolling the ball to the pitcher. And I got in there. He threw a first pitch hook, missed the plate by 3 inches, and I look back there. The guy says strike. I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna be. Yeah, I might as well stick this bat up my butt and walk off.
Yeah, you just need 3 pitches.
That's it.
Well, it's like now you can identify with John Kruk when Kruk was in the All-Star game.
Beautiful. It was such a beautiful
like you
thing.
could relate
you
to
don't
that.
have a shot. If they're giving him 3 inches off the plate, you don't have a shot.
He's Deion Sanders, Hall of Famer, NFL Network analyst, and you can see him tonight and Friday at 9 Eastern on NFL Network Super Bowl Prime. And also see Deion on NFL Network's NFL Game Day Prime following Super Bowl 50.
God, I love the way you say Prime.
Thank you for stopping in.
Thank you all, man.
It's always
You
great
guys
to
are
see
great.
you.
And I love the shirt. I do love the darn shirt.
But Seaton's or Fritzy's flannel?
The flannel.
Seaton's looks like he's got Shawshank Redemption shirt on there, doesn't it?
Yeah, he looks good though.
Got a little prison blue on there.
I like
think it works.
Yeah,
I like
You're Andy Dufresne is what you are.
I like it, and I love the catch. I mean, you were really scared when A-Rod just threw that. You were really afraid.
Would you have caught that?
Yes. Yes. But, you did a good job. I'm proud of you.
I did a good job. I started crying, actually.
Who had the strongest arm, if you're trying to intercept somebody? Because Elway had a pretty good gun.
Favre had a gun.
Oh, okay.
It was unbridled.
So it might have hurt if you did.
Favre had a gun. Elway, a lot of guys had guns. You know the difference. One more. The difference of those guys back then and us, is like the guys now. Not only did you have to deal with Mike Irvin, you had to deal with Troy Aikman. You had to deal with Jerry Rice, but you had to deal with Steve Young. Jim Kelly, Andre Reed. These guys had a quarterback that was also a Hall of Famer. It was a different game.
Enjoy the grill. Glad you got it. Dion said. Assess your game, your hoop game at Fordham. At your peak, who plays in the NBA now the way you played when you were at Fordham?
Oh, boy. Well, I had no left hand, so that means nobody in the NBA. But I had speed. I grew up in Mount Vernon with a lot of fast players like Gus Williams he was in class ahead of me, but Ray Williams, his brother, who played for the Knicks, we were in the same class. He was in my class.
All right. So nobody now because
I wasn't as good as. Well, now, I don't know who's a speed guy now.
Were you a shooter or were you a gunner?
No, I had what you call a New York game. I was a slasher and couldn't shoot.
So you might have been.
I was fast and I had good defense.
Maybe
I played for PJ Carlissimo.
Yeah, I know PJ.
Yeah.
Good
my
man.
freshman year at Fordham, we played. I played freshman ball under PJ.
Maybe Patrick Beverly, who's a pesky defensive guy.
I like Patrick Beverly. He's a pain in the neck. And I love that. He knows it.
You've let him know?
No, he knows it. He knows he bothers people and he gets to people.
Was your shot better than Lonzo Ball's shot?
I had about a half Alonzo. I didn't go all the way to the hip. But I had the little sideways funky. I had a little Jamal Wilkes going.
Oh, I like Silk Wilkes.
Excuse me, even before Jamal, I had Keith Wilkes going.
The UCLA.
I had to kind of bring it over the head, sideways, corkscrew, hope it gets there.
Some of the younger guys on the staff don't remember Rex Chapman as a player. And I, of course, do what I do with my kids. Google him. He was a big deal at Kentucky, and he could get up. He could shoot. Rex Chapman, here's something for you. Rex Chapman is the only player in NBA history, only player, to have played in exactly 666 career games.
Stat of the day, stat of the day, stat of the day, stat of the day. Here comes that what? Stat of the day.
Jason in Nebraska joining us on the program. Hi, Jason. What do you have?
Hey, Danny and the Danettes. First, just wanted to apologize. Yesterday, I made you call her Rose when her name was Ruth on Ozark. So I do want to apologize for that. But I did want to just real serious. You guys do a wonderful job. I lived in the Philippines for 10 years. Came here and came back home in 2015. Been watching you ever since. You guys do an excellent job, regardless of whether I agree with you every day, Danny. And you're getting older, and your opinions may change. You do an excellent job. Keep it up, all of you. Even your crew too. The people that answer the phone. The reason I'm calling is because you were talking about how some of the callers were getting irate and stuff. Screw it. You guys do an excellent job.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Look, we can agree to disagree. I know that when the topic gets more serious, we get more sensitive, we get angrier. But look, we take the jabs, we criticize ourselves. But let's make this a two-way street here. All right? Just civility. That's all I'm asking. Because I don't agree with you on Drew Brees' comments, does it make me a bad guy or you a bad guy? John in Wisconsin. Hey, John, what do you have for me?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Yeah, I really appreciate your guys' voice in sports talk radio when it comes to this stuff. And regarding the other callers and Drew Brees stuff, I mean, we know it's not about the flag or the national anthem. And these people who are quick to jump and comment and criticize the people who protest, whether they're in the NFL or out in the streets these weeks, these same people who jump to criticize the protesters are usually silent on these racial issues in terms of institutional racism and police brutality. And I mean, this just speaks to the double standard where protesters who are reacting to a brutal police killing are held to a higher standard than the police officers themselves or figures in authority. And this is the opposite of how it should be. I mean, these people in authority, these police officers should be held to the highest standard of citizens. They're the ones carrying the guns, the riot gear. And then, also based on the chat row right now, I think a good poll question for McLovin would be, Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter might give an interesting demographic.
Oh, no. Thank you, John. You were on a roll there. Wow.
I like the idea that the hand up for 4 quarters.
Yeah, that was
for years and years on end. By the way, last 4 years, hold your hand up for 4 quarters.
Yeah. Josh in West Virginia. Hey, Josh. Wow.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, bud.
Pre-COVID, 230.
Right.
Post-COVID, 245. Not doing good, man.
Okay.
So, hey, Dan, I just wanted to comment on Drew Brees. I understand with everything's going on, and the timing may be off. However, I don't think it's justified other people in the sports world deeming him racist over his comments. I mean, he had an opinion.
Oh, he's not a racist. He's not. I mean, nobody's calling him a racist.
I was read on ESPN and different people's calling him racist over his comments. And before I go, Dan, may I give a shout out on a special occasion?
All right.
I wanted to give a shout out to my pastor, Sal, and his wife, Sister Alicia, Bria, and the baby Scarlett. And then moving on to St. Louis next week. And they did a heck of a job pastoring Glen Ferris Apostolic. We're going to love and miss them.
Pastor Sal. All right. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's labeling Drew Brees a racist. I mean, we're not. It's just this is his opinion. He admits that he was tone deaf to it. He admits it. He apologized. I'm fine with that. We move forward. Just, he's, as he said, less talk, more listening. All right. I'm all for that. Less talk, more listening. I'll do a little talking, but a lot of listening in the final hour. Adrian Wojnarowski will join us coming up. I guess it's set. Format set for Orlando, the NBA. Dana White, UFC president, will join us as well. 2 hours in the books, 1 more to go. Seton Pauly, Fritzy, and McLovin, yours truly. This is the Dan Patrick Show. If your nickname wasn't The Process, what would it be?
Let me think about it.
Did you have one at Kansas?
Nah. Kansas, they call me the Lion Killer.
Have you actually killed a lion, Joel?
Yeah. You want to know the story?
Yeah. Give me the story.
So when I was about 6 years old, I had to go in the jungle to kill the lion. So that was a way for me to prove that I was a man, and so that was also a way for me to become a man. So I went into the jungle. I had a spear, and I threw it at a lion, and he fell asleep. And then I just came and killed him. And then I carried the lion on my back to the village, and carried it. And when I got to the village, I proved that I was a man, and I became a man since I was 6 years old.
Wait, you're 6 years old, you kill a lion, you bring the lion back to the village.
Yep.
Wow. Now, are there 6-year-olds who go into the jungle and don't come back as they're trying to be a man killing a lion?
I mean, you know, I'm kind of different. I have some type of different strength. So, and then, you know, I've always been taught my whole life. So I think it was an easy job.
Has anybody else on the 76ers killed a lion?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
I'm the only one.
yeah, I would imagine when that topic comes up, then nobody else can offer up anything.
Okay, who believes the story flat out? Exactly what he told us.
Fritzy?
I believe him.
Paulie?
Very convincing.
I believe he was present and participated in some way, and it was a rite of passage in where he grew up.
I don't think he went in alone if he did.
Didn't he say that the lion was sleeping?
Yes.
It makes it easier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Seton, you believe Joel Embiid killed a lion? Lion killer?
I don't know. I mean, 6 years old.
I mean, your son just turned 7.
He did. I just couldn't imagine my son being like, all right, buddy, give him a little smack on the behind and saying, I get into that jungle, pal, and I hope you come back out with a lion.
I hope to see you again.
And him doing it somehow.
I'm going to guess that there was a group. It was a group effort. Yeah, Paul.
Does it matter if he's 6 or 14? Seems like killing a lion by yourself is a risky proposition.
I don't know if he killed the lion by himself.
Team effort.
Yeah, Fritzy.
I don't care if the lion was in a coma and had all his extremities removed. I'm 47. I wouldn't go anywhere near that thing.
He's got a great personality. And plus everything he went through while we waited for him, it's paid off there with Philadelphia.
Fritzy won't eat hot wings. That's like the gutsiest thing.
It's as far as I'm still trying to figure out how to tie my shoelaces. I'm not killing a lion.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Each of the 22 teams will play 8 regular season games in Orlando for seeding purposes, sources tell ESPN. The play-in format requires a double elimination format for the 8th seed, a single elimination for the 9th seed. If the 9th seed is more than 4 games behind the 8th seed, the number 8 makes the playoffs. Fewer than 4 games, it's a play-in tournament.
Huh? What?
I'm trying to stay with this one.
Dan Patrick.
Vic Fangio is the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
We're a league of meritocracy. You earn what you get what you earn. I don't see racism. We're lucky.
There's a lot of people who lack self-awareness. There are other teams or owners that maybe you could call out. There is racism. He may not see it. He hasn't experienced it, but it is there.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. Final hour on this Thursday. Boy, I hope you got a chance to hear Rex Chapman. He joined us last hour. He's really a treat. I mean, he admits he's a flawed man, but aren't we all? But he puts those flaws out there, and he just wide-ranging interview. And he's got one of the better social media handles there with what he talks about. And really entertaining. And he was a big deal at Kentucky, and he certainly was a player to be reckoned with when he was in the NBA. But I have a soft spot in my heart with Rex because he's one of those guys. It feels like when it's all done, and then you kind of take off the uniform, and then you come outside and you go, "Where did everybody go?" That's what it felt like it happened with Rex Chapman. You're praised, lauded, you make this money, you come outside, and all of a sudden it's done. He looks out around and goes, "Where did everybody go?" And I think that he's still been searching for that for quite some time. But I appreciate his honesty. Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider, set to join us. And Woj, on the clock yesterday, was set to join us, and all of a sudden he sends a note to Fritzy saying, "Can't do it. Got some breaking news here." So then moments later, 2 minutes later, I see, Woj is reporting this is the new format, 22 teams. And Woj joins us, unless a story breaks, and then you'll leave us again, Woj. But thank you for coming back. Explain the information, the story that you broke yesterday.
Hey, Dan. Essentially, the format that we had been reporting on that was headed toward today's vote with the league's owners, the Board of Governors, had been presented formally to the owners, which is a 22-team format in Orlando. 5 teams from the West, 1 from the East, in addition to the 16 teams that were already slotted in the playoffs, and then a play-in tournament. I heard you. You've got to read it a couple times to get how that works. But essentially, yes, you're going to play out. You're going to have 8 regular season games, I'm told. And at the end of those 8 regular season games, if the 9th seed is inside of 4 games out, then they have a play-in tournament. If he's 4.5 games or 5 games out, then the 8th seed goes on to the playoffs.
Okay. Is it going to be East and West designation, or are we all under one roof here?
It will be East and West. And there was some conversation around the league about making it a 1 through 16. But I think in the end, what part of the decision-making I was told with Adam Silver was that to change that in the middle of a season when, for example, teams built their rosters to compete with teams in their conference and to compete there, and then to all of a sudden change that didn't seem to be, it was too dramatic and sudden of a change, and they kept it in the 2 conferences, East and West.
The home court advantage, the higher seeds, what is the commissioner? It felt like there were quite a few things on the table here. Dave McMenamin of ESPN had some of those, but what is real in giving the higher seeds a so-called home court advantage?
Well, they'll get to wear their white jerseys.
Yay.
Yeah. I think maybe they'll get to decide what color they wear. I do not believe there is any appetite anywhere in the NBA outside of perhaps the Lakers and the Bucks, the 2 top seeds in each conference, to give those teams an advantage. So I think they'll go to Orlando. They'll compete like everybody else. Maybe there'll be a better parking spot for their star player at the Grand Floridian. But other than that, they're going to have to win straight up.
Why late July? Why will it take that long?
Well, part of it is getting the teams back into market, quarantined, and then the time it's going to take to get them back into shape. They're not going to just put them into a training camp. It's going to be essentially a couple weeks of individual training, similar to what they've been doing in these voluntary workouts. But the league and there's medical science people are uneasy about the idea of going to full contact 5-on-5 regular practices at the team's sites when the players aren't going to be living in a bubble environment. They worry in that way. They want them to still be distanced at that time until they get to Orlando. And so part of the conversation, Dan, with the teams is, well, then let's get to Orlando sooner and maybe do more of our training camp there when we can run it like a real practice. They're very concerned about injuries, soft tissue injuries, the things that happen when you're off and you get thrown back in, because they don't want just this season to keep this season from being impacted, but next season. You don't want injuries that, let's say the Blazers come back and maybe they don't make the playoffs. Maybe they don't get in the play-in or win, but you don't want Damian Lillard getting injured or Yusuf Nurkic to come back and get hurt again because you haven't done what's needed in camp time. And so that's what is going to ultimately, make people look and go, geez, this thing seems like it should start sooner. But that's a big consideration to give the players the time they need.
I know the NBA loves its Christmas schedule, and if you're looking at how this season is going to impact next season, best guess of when next season would start?
Dan, I would be really surprised if it started later than Christmas Day. That's such an important day for television, for the league. The idea of being dark on Christmas Day and not having NBA games, I don't think that's an option the league really wants to consider. But certainly, if the NBA Finals right now were to go to a seventh game based on the schedule that they've lined up and that they've shared with the teams, I was told October 12th would be the final date. And so if you're a team in the NBA Finals, or even a team that goes to the conference finals, that's a pretty quick turnaround to starting camp, let's say around maybe right after Thanksgiving, a month of camp. But you've also been off for a long time. Your off season is kind of now. You're coming back. You're going to play for a burst of time here and then come back with a shortened start of next season. But it will put the league on a different trajectory by starting in late December, where it's going to take you again through the summer months next year to finish a season.
Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider, his podcast, The Woj Pod. The Zion factor here, Woj. Is there a Zion factor of getting him at least on the periphery of the playoffs?
Well, I think there's no question that he is a star. He's been a star attraction very quickly in the league. I think you could make the argument that if New Orleans was where Phoenix was, 5.5 games back, I think you could make the argument, hey, they're really reaching to get New Orleans and Zion in this tournament. But the fact that New Orleans was just 3.5 games back, along with the Blazers and Trailblazers, I think that is, while I'm sure that they love the idea, it doesn't look as though, or it doesn't appear as though they had to sort of, bend backwards to make it happen. I think there's more of a case that maybe the teams at number 21 and 22, Washington and Phoenix, they're right on the border of being able to make a compelling argument that they still were playoff contenders.
How is the NBA going to decide which members of the media get to cover these games?
I have no idea. Of all the questions I've asked, that has not been one I've tried to waste my bullets on or spend much time on. I don't know what that'll look like. I do know this. They really want to limit who's in that campus bubble environment. And I think what it might also be, Dan, there might be different layers of people. There might be like a group, like one phase that does have daily interaction with players. That would be pretty limited. And then another group that's maybe on the periphery, and then another group that's just within Disney but not around the gym. I think it may look something like that. But in terms of broadcasters, those announcers being on site, I don't have an answer as to how they're going to do that, whether they're going to be in the building, whether they're going to be doing it from their homes or from a studio somewhere. But it's certainly going to be those will start to be more of the questions I think asked as we dig deeper into the details here and we get past the vote today.
I cringe when I hear this, that there'll be an asterisk by whoever wins this title. And my point is, there's only an asterisk if the Lakers win this. This is the LeBron factor that if the Greek Freak wins a title, nobody's attaching an asterisk by this. Or if, Kawhi wins another one. It's just, LeBron is so polarizing here that, hey, that doesn't really count as a full championship. I'm just waiting for these talking points, Woj, of... Yep, LeBron, he won a title. The whole season has an asterisk by it But it feels like if LeBron wins a title, that he'll have an asterisk by it.
See, I actually think it might be just the opposite of that, Dan, that I think if one of the teams that was considered the favorite, a team that's a 1 seed potentially in the West, if they hold on to that, I think that there'll be more legitimacy if it's the Lakers or the Clippers or Milwaukee. But if a team that's maybe was in that next tier wins and it feels fluky to people, because typically in the NBA, you know this, Dan, the best team almost always wins. That's not true in the NCAA tournament. That might not be true in football where it's a 1 game, but in a best of 7, the best team wins. And I think if it's one of the teams that are in that 2, 3, 4, how many do we want to put in it?
Yeah.
I think it has more legitimacy than, let's say, a next tier team jumps up and gets hot and steals the title and wins it. I think that's would actually be more of a team that might be seen less than legitimate.
I can't make you a programmer at ESPN because you don't understand programming, Woj. You got to have clicks. You got to have hot takes. You're not getting a hot take if the 76ers win the title. Come on, you and your journalism here. How dare you? You got to Skip Bayless is saying, what's wrong with you, Woj? Don't you understand? It's got to be about LeBron all the time.
Well, listen, it's going to be, there's no question that I think the star power of this summer is going to have to carry the league because you're going to have an environment like here's what I'm curious about, Dan. I think the basketball junkies, you're going to watch, I'm going to watch the casual fan who gets brought into the finals or the conference finals, who, increases your audience exponentially that time of year. I do wonder how the environment around the game impacts. I mean, here LeBron makes some incredible play and the Bucks call timeout and normally the place would be going crazy. And is everyone just going to quietly walk to the huddle and the timeout? And I do wonder. And so, and I do think the league's going to account for that. I think there's going to be some bells and whistles around the environment and some of it may have to be manufactured. It's going to be really interesting to see what it looks and feels like in the arena, in these games. Summer league games in Orlando, we've had those for years. And I mean, you could literally listen to a guy could be shooting a free throw, Dan. And if you were listening close enough on NBA TV, you could hear like 2 GMs in the corner talking about a trade. And so it was not a electric environment.
I thought you were going to say you could listen, if you listen closely enough, you could hear the guy's heartbeat at the free throw line. But are we doing it's best of 7 throughout for every series?
Best of 7. And that was one of, in the terms of what you're talking about, Dan, in having legitimacy and crowning a champion that people were going to take seriously. I know that was an important priority for Adam Silver, that whatever led up to the finals or the playoffs, I should say, regular season games and then play in, that the tournament itself, the playoffs needed to be best of 7. And listen, you're asking for trouble if you have a first round series that's best of 5. Like if you want to see the Lakers get upset or the Bucks to get upset, make the other team only have to win 3 games. And so to me, it never made sense. If you wanted to be sure the best team advanced, don't have a shortened series.
Woj, great stuff. Thank you.
Thanks,
we appreciate your time. That's
okay.
We recommend Polynesian Village for you.
Oh, the Wilderness Lodge. I remember reporting out the 2011 lockout at 4 a.m. in the lobby because my family was sleeping. That's my great visiting memory.
Thank you, Woj.
Some more.
That's Adrian Wojnarowski, the ESPN senior NBA insider, and his podcast is the Woj Pod. All right, that clears up a few things there. And the fact that it's going to be East, West, that you don't want to have too many gimmicks here. The fact that they were thinking, hey, we'll give one player on your team 7 fouls to commit, or we'll give the higher seed the ball second, third, fourth quarter to start the quarter. Hey, you can bring your own home court to have home court advantage. And I understand what Woj is saying, that the asterisk will be attached to if you have the Celtics win the title, or if you have, not Utah, because throw in a fluky team there, then it feels like you might have an asterisk there. It just feels like any way, anyhow, that these talk show hosts can get LeBron in and somehow be critical of LeBron, then that's usually what they try to do. Clicks is what it's all about. McLevin, what's the poll question? I forgot all about it.
Because I haven't told you.
Oh.
Do you want me to tell you now?
Yeah.
Will you stop being a baseball fan if they don't play this season? I know. That's why I put it up without your permission.
I know.
84% said no, they won't stop being a fan. I was surprised. I thought that everyone was turning off.
I don't know if you can stop being a fan. Maybe you're not as loyal. Like you're going to lose the casual fan. I think the baseball fan will always be there. But now it feels like the owners are saying 50 games and that's it. It's 50 games. And I'm trying to understand the rationale here. The players want more games, therefore more money. The owners will lose more money with each game because rough estimates now. The owners make about $500,000 with each home game with all the fans and concessions, parking and all of that. That rough estimate. If you're going to have more games and I lose more money, then the owners are going to steadfastly say, we're not giving you 114. We're not giving you 100 games. It's a taffy tug of war here with a big dollar sign in the middle. The owners are saying, we want to keep our money. We're losing it without fans. The players are saying, even without fans, we want to have more games because we want our paychecks to be bigger. That's sort of at the crux of this. And I don't know what that solution is. Do the owners get to 75 games? Is 75 enough for the players? Do they need to get to 100? So all the other leagues moving forward. And here we have baseball stuck in neutral. Yeah, McLevin.
Talk about an asterisk. You could have Jacob deGrom. They could pitch him every 3. It's like the playoffs start with game 1. You could just burn out your star pitchers and have weird teams.
Yeah, with 50 games.
Would it be exciting maybe?
Oh, yeah. Look, at this stage, I'm okay with anything. It's not ideal, but this is 1 year, 1 season, 1 moment that will never happen again in our lifetimes. Okay. Just let's get sports back. That's what I'd like to see. Just get it back. We'll work out the other details here. All right. 18 after the hour. We'll check in with Dana White, the UFC president. He'll join us coming up next. More phone calls. We'll get to those as well. 19 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time. You're always checking your phone, email, Instagram. Check something important like your FICO credit score. Discover helps make it easy. And best of all, it's free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores. That's used by 90% of top lenders, and they're doing that for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Now, there's 2 scenes where there's one line in the movie. I won't give the line away, but I think it's the line of the movie, and it's in the last 5 minutes, and it's and you're involved in it.
Yeah.
When you're reading the script and you saw the line, were you comfortable with the line being in the movie?
Oh, Dan, that wasn't in there. I asked the director to put that in there.
Oh, you
and
did?
They were like, "No, are you serious?" I'm like, come on, man, it's a movie. Like, yeah, I mean, it happened 25 years ago. I'm like, come on, man, it's funny. Like, come on. And so, I love the writer there and also Charles. So they put in. I was really happy to have that in, especially when I saw the reaction. Now I did go see it in Atlanta, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's messed up." And I wanted to tell everybody, "No, it's okay. I did it." But I'm proud to say that I asked for that to be in the movie.
Yeah, this has to do with Chris's career at Michigan. So I don't want to spoil.
Not hard to guess.
Yeah, exactly. The most famous moment in his Michigan career, perhaps. And then the baptism scene is Okay. Your wife is watching the movie. You guys are in front of us. And so that's your daughter that you're holding in the baptism scene. But explain what goes on in the baptism scene as much as you want to, because I was curious what your wife is thinking as she's watching that.
Okay, yeah. Well, she was at the filming, so she was very happy, even though, it kind of it's a scene where I'm allowed to be a preacher, and so it's I grew up in a very small church, just like the one, just like the one in the movie. I had 7 people in my family, and maybe it was a church of 18 people, maybe. So your kids, you get to play the drums, you get to do all type. The Lord. So it's a lot of fun for being a kid. And so really what I did was try to channel all my old pastors, a little bit of my father. My father actually was in that scene, so it was cool. He was like a deacon back there jumping up. He's jumping with Lisa Leslie and or Betty Lewis, she called. And so I get to have a baby. And so it first called for twins, and I have twins. And I was like, oh, that's the perfect scene. So my daughter, Elle Marie, she's in the scene with me. Of course, for people out there, don't kill me. It's a doll most of the time. But when we show the close-up, it's my daughter. And so my wife, I'm like, you're the only person that would shed a tear at this, at this funny movie because you pop up on the screen. But she loved it, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed. What did you guys think? I thought that that Reggie actually did get you guys tickets. I didn't know if he was really going to get the tickets. What did you think?
Laugh out loud. There were probably 15 moments that were laugh out loud. And, the fact that you go behind the back, so you're in the baptismal, so you have your baby behind, like you're Harlem Globetrotter with your baby with the baptism. And I don't know who you were channeling with your look. I thought you looked sort of like a Jeff Bridges and Billy D. Williams, like a combo of Jeff Bridges and Billy D. Williams.
And put a little Al Sharpton with the gray in the wig. I like that. The Jeff Bridges, you're exactly right. The Billy D. and Al Sharpton. That's a heck of a combination.
More phone calls coming up, 877-3DP Show. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Covered a lot of ground here today. Certainly a lot of Drew Brees in the first hour. That bled over a little bit into the second hour. You go back and listen to the show, the podcast, if you missed anything here. And I encourage you to listen to Rex Chapman, former NBA player, who joined us last hour. And I just thought he was wonderful. There's always this feeling with Rex that what you're getting is who he really is. He doesn't hide from anything. Neither does Dana White, the New England native. Joining us, we have the Featherweight Championship this Saturday. UFC President Dana White. He joins us on the program. Dana, you still a Patriots fan?
I am a Patriots fan. Yeah, I'll be for life. But I'm not going to lie. I'm a little interested in what's going on down in Florida now too, because I'm such a huge Brady fan and Gronk. So I'll be following two teams this year.
How much did that hurt though when you realized Brady was leaving town?
Yeah, I think it hurt everybody. You know, it's one of those things where a guy who's brought so much enjoyment and fun and a lot of incredible Sundays over the last 10 years, thanks to him. And you'd like to see him retire in New England, but doesn't work out.
Did you think you had a chance of talking him into going to the Raiders?
I did have a chance. I did. I think that he was very interested in the Raiders.
Okay,
but that's none of my business. That's none of my business.
Yeah, but you're kind of the conduit. You're the liaison there. You were the power broker there. That Tom, here's Mark Davis. We got the Raiders in Vegas. How do we make this work?
Apparently I wasn't. Okay, apparently I wasn't the power broker. I thought I was, and I tried to be, but I wasn't.
If somebody didn't realize what had happened the last 2 months with UFC, how would you sum up the last 2 months for your sport?
It's funny me saying this. If you look at where we came from, no television, no pay-per-view, all the things when we started, not sanctioned by any state, to say that the last 2 months has been probably the hardest 2 months of my career is pretty hilarious. But I always believed that we could pull this thing off. We could do it, and we could do it safely. And now I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I'm going into my 5th or 6th fight this Saturday during a pandemic, and all the other things that are going on in the world right now. We're moving, we're cranking.
But what was the biggest hurdle through the last 2 months?
I have been getting blasted by the media. And when I say that, being blasted by the media, these guys were literally trying to do everything in their power to make these events not happen, from calling athletic commissions to politicians to venues, you name it. People did not, and when I say people, I mean media, did not want this event to happen. And, I think I pissed off a lot of people when I made it happen.
But not your fans. And that's all you care about.
That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not my fans, not my fighters, and not my employees. So that's the only group of people I'm concerned with.
How many times have you been tested for coronavirus?
So today, after today and tomorrow, I'll have been tested 7 times for COVID-19 and 6 antibody tests.
Any positives?
No positives.
How many fighters have tested positive?
2. Well, that we've tested. We've tested. Out of all the fighters that we've tested, 1, but there was another fighter out of New York who had tested positive on his own and got through it. Had no problems.
Did you actually look at buying an island? Are you still looking at buying an island?
No, well, we do. We have Fight Island. The infrastructure is coming together. Probably in the next week, I'll start releasing pictures of Fight Island. And yeah, because when you look at our business, Dan, I started looking at all the problems we're probably going to have. And as this thing started to escalate and get crazier and crazier, the number one problem is and will be for a while is getting people in from other countries. And we are a global business. We have fighters from all over the world. And I can't keep putting on fights in the United States without having international fights, or I'm gonna smoke through all of my talent in the US. So we're looking at, I think it's June 27th will probably be our first fight on Fight Island.
Why don't you just have a resort, like a UFC resort?
Times are tough. I don't know if I can be building resorts right now. But this thing will be nice. It will make do. And it will, these guys will have a place where they can come from all over the world, and it will be safe. And these guys will be able to compete, and they'll be able to make a living.
If John Jones had stayed out of trouble, let's say the last 6-7 years, would he still be the face of UFC?
You would think so. At the time, when you look at John Jones at one point in his career, on his trunks, on one side he had Nike, on the other side he had Gatorade. And I truly believe that he is the greatest of all time. And imagine if John Jones had been doing the right things outside of the octagon, training, getting better, all this stuff. He is such a freak of nature and such a good athlete. God knows what he could have accomplished. Listen, I think very highly of LeBron James. If I'm a Celtics fan, but you can't not like LeBron James, and you cannot deny the work ethic that this guy has. All the good things that he's done. When he goes onto a team, he raises the level of all the players, and he wins championships, or he gets you close. And I think that when I say that John Jones could have been the LeBron James of the sport, it is the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. Can you work together anymore?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Listen, this isn't our first falling out, and it definitely will not be our last.
Did you ever want to fight Conor McGregor?
Did I want to fight him?
Like out of the ring?
Dan, I'm 50 years old. I don't want to fight anybody.
Well, I know, but did you ever get angry enough where you just wanted to
grab
grab
I fight to get
him?
on a treadmill every day. Trust me. Last thing I want to do is fight any of these guys. No. Listen, I have 600 and something alpha male and females under contract. We're going to butt heads, and there's going to be problems, and things are going to happen. But at the end of the day, I have the utmost respect for these guys and girls and how hard they train and what they do. And believe me, the last thing I'm looking to do is fight any of these guys.
What about Glazer? You against Jay Glazer? I'd watch.
That's hilarious.
Wait.
Everybody wants to see Glazer get his ass kicked. I don't know why, but they do.
Will you tell the story of why you left Boston?
Yeah. So I was in the boxing business back there, and to make ends meet, me and my partner used to train, executives, anybody that wanted to learn how to box. And we had a nice little business going. And I was teaching a class one day at one of the local health clubs, and these two guys walked in right in the middle of my class and asked me, "We need to talk to you outside." Like, I'm in the middle of a class. I was thinking, who the hell are these guys? Are they with the club or whatever? So they were pretty adamant that we needed to talk. So we went out into the hallway, and I figured out who they were. And, basically they wanted money. I got a call one day.
This is the mob.
Yeah, it's the mob. I got a call one day. They wanted like $1,500 from me, $2,500, whatever the number was. I don't remember, but at that time, might as well have been $25,000 to me. And, I ignored it and hoped it would go away. And one day I was at my apartment and I got a call saying, you got till tomorrow at 1:00 to pay us. I said, or what? And I said, are you going to find out? I literally hung up the phone, picked it back up, and called Delta and got a one-way ticket back to Vegas.
Did you ever hear from these guys? They never went to Vegas?
No. So what happened was, a few months after that is when all the stuff went down, and they started digging up bodies down at the beach, and, Whitey Bulger fled, and, all that stuff happened, a few months after I left.
You ever come in contact with Whitey Bulger?
No, never did.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing. Or his guys, any of his guys. So, yeah, no, it's all good.
The fight this weekend, you want to give the plug here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, stacked card, tons of great fights. And at the end of the day, when you tune in for a sporting event, and especially a fight, you want a couple of those moments where you jump out of the chair, look at everybody and everybody's going crazy. We have a few of those fights on here, and obviously the main event, Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. Amanda Nunes has beat the who's who of mixed martial arts. She is the greatest female fighter of all time and one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. It is fun to see her work, and she doesn't just win, she finishes people. So great main event.
But this isn't even, Ronda Rousey's not even in her league.
Well, she fought Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Ronda was the woman that made everything blow up. Ronda Rousey showed the world that women can fight, and women can sell tickets, and women can make as much money as men. Ronda Rousey was the pioneer that blew the whole lid off this thing. And then, you had all these women that were unbelievable in all these different weight classes, these women that are unbelievable, and people love to watch the women fight. Amanda Nunes has beat them all, and beat them all convincingly. And, she's the best to ever do it.
When you saw Holly Holm take out Ronda Rousey, what'd you think?
It was crazy. It was we were in a stadium in Australia, and the fight was so hot. Everybody was saying that Holly Holm had no chance and she couldn't win. So it was one of those shock the world moments, and Holly Holm became incredibly famous after that fight.
Yeah, I always wondered that if you're a promoter and you see one of your stars go down, now I know that means another star steps up, but this is Ronda Rousey, and you're looking at what that means for the box office.
Yeah, well, eventually, every star ends up going away, whether it's here or in NBA or NFL. But I was very close to Ronda Rousey, have an amazing relationship with her. We're close friends. So the weird thing about this business is you become close to these kids, and then you've watched them fight, and many times there's two people fighting that you really care about, and it's a crazy business.
But Dana, I was wondering about this, where you can see where like a fighter's soul is taken. It felt like Ronda Rousey when she lost more than just a fight. Did you sense that?
Well, what happens is, and especially for somebody like Ronda Rousey, who blew the lid off this whole thing and literally changed the game for women, she was under tremendous pressure 24/7. The media started to get to her. The pressure of continuing to fight and win and win and win and win. She's trying to do movies. She was trying to, create her own TV show. She had a lot on her plate, and it gets to be a lot.
Yeah, I just wondered about that. Where I've seen where guys lose a fight, boxers, and you just see it. It's like they just don't want to do. They lose more than just a bout. They lose more than just a fight. There's something that's like I always thought Tyson, when he lost to Buster Douglas, he lost more than just a fight that night. He lost his invincibility, and it felt like that Ronda lost her invincibility because we didn't think that she could lose.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally understand that. But sometimes when that happens and somebody loses like that and they disappear and they go away, Ronda Rousey went right to the WWE, killed it over there, became a huge superstar for them, and she's continuing to do things. So I don't know if that was the case as much as I think the mounting tremendous amount of pressure,
Yeah, that was
finally wiped her out.
Amazing run there. Dana, good to talk to you. Have fun this weekend, and we appreciate your time. And, I would look into that Fight Island retreat resort. Be great. You could have fun rides there. I could stay in the Conor McGregor suite. We could come up with some things. Tap Out restaurant. I think we're good. I mean, I got it, Dana. I got it.
Let's talk.
Thank you, Dana.
See you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
That's Dana White, UFC president. Action coming up this weekend. Yeah, Paul.
I think this is a fantastic idea.
Come on, Tap Out restaurant? No.
It's like Branson, Missouri for getting punched in the face.
What's on tap at Tap Out Bar? You could have beers named after the fighters.
The bouncers are former UFC fighters. If someone gets out of line, they just hammer them.
Do you have like a little cage where you could go in? Remember when they had the bull riding? And you could go in. Did anybody ever ride a bull in one of those bars, those country western bars back then? I went to one on the Sunset Strip, and Paulie and I went with Rob Dibble and Sean Salisbury, and we went in to ride the bull.
It's called like something ranch on Sunset. It has a mechanical bull.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still there. I'm assuming it's not still there, but I do remember. We went in, and I'm thinking, what's it called, Paulie?
Saddle Ranch, Sunset Boulevard.
Is it still there?
Checking.
Okay. All right, we'll take a break. Last call for a phone call. It's been an interesting show. Different show. Is it still open, Paulie?
Saddle Ranch Chop House. House. Yeah, Sunset Strip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we saw the person with the wig. We were there for the Miami... Who did Miami play in the national title game? Miami, Nebraska, Eric Crouch.
Yeah.
We were out there doing that game for ESPN Radio. And the night before the game, we went to Saddle Ranch on Sunset and had a pretty good time. And a bunch of, I think there's some Miami players there. We hung out with some big dudes.
Wait, who had the toupee on?
There was a girl with a long wig on, and when she flew off the mechanical bull, her wig flew off. And she had short hair underneath. And she put it right back on and got right back up there. I think it was either Miami versus Nebraska or Miami, Michigan, something like that.
Wait, was that the Rose Bowl that Michigan? Was that when Tom Brady was on the sidelines?
Yeah, we asked Tom Brady for an interview, and he smiled. He said, I'd really not like to do that.
And he had one of those chain wallets.
Yeah, he was super cool.
Oh, he couldn't have been nicer turning us down. Could not have been nicer.
Hey, thanks a lot for asking, but I'd really not like to do that. Okay, Tom.
Hey, I just want to watch here. And I go, yeah, I get it. Paulie was all excited. He got turned down from Tom Brady. I was like, yeah, what? How did it go? He goes, no, he said no, but he was really, really nice.
And you're like, you're supposed to book him. You're supposed to get him to do the interview. Oh, sorry.
Take a break. Last call for phone calls after this. Okay, can you give the audience, can you do your voice? Can you give us one line in the voice?
Okay, I mean, I'm going to have send you some SAG papers or something. I don't know how that works. But yeah,
okay.
Here we go. Let me see. Here's early in the morning.
Okay.
Man. Oh, man, you got me on the spot. All right, what did I say? It was just something like, good morning, Church of the Dan Patricks. This morning I woke up, I changed my daughter's diaper. She had a nice little package for me. It was a gift, weighed about 2 pounds. I said, Lord, how could something this small put something so big out of her butt in the morning?
Is your wife there looking at you like, what are you doing?
No. She's actually in the other room.
Oh, okay.
She's actually, yeah. I'll show her the tape later and she'll cringe.
So the movie is Uncle Drew, and it opens nationwide on Friday. And I will say, Kawhi Leonard, if you don't know, or Kyrie Irving, if you don't know it's Kyrie, he's that good in that role. Yes. I really thought, I thought Kyrie was legitimately great in that role.
Yes, he was. No, he did a great job. He knew how not to overdo it, and he carried the movie. I mean, it was a great opportunity for him, letting us be in it and working with us. But he set the tone and the pace, and that's why it was good. I think everybody really stepped their game up and started off with Kyrie, man. It was a lot of fun.
It was
a lot of fun.
A lot of laughs. Shaq's great in there. Yeah. Reggie's great as well. There's a lot of fun. A lot of fun in there.
Yeah.
And you get to...
My mom, Dan, not to cut you off, but, in the scene where Shaq is Shaq, basically, when he's in the hospital, I watched that with my mom, and she literally almost fell out of her chair trying not to look at the screen. So Shaq makes sure he shows the people a side of him that they've never seen before.
That was Shaq crack is what that was.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that in the script that Shaq was going to – he has his hospital gown open in the back.
Yeah, I don't know if it was in the script. The real cool thing is they really let us improv. For instance, I know that they knew basketball, but I don't know if they knew basketball to the point of the average fan. And so, I remember one time we had to kind of fight for him to say barbecue chicken. They were like, oh, no, that doesn't make sense. We're like, no, you don't make sense. You don't understand. That's what Shaq's saying all this time, and kids will get barbecue chicken. Like, they're inside jokes inside of basketball that you guys need to trust us on since it's a basketball movie. And they did that. But no, we were allowed to ad-lib a lot, and that's what was fun, because guys were not competing, but like feeding off of each other, able to say, oh, okay, that was a good joke. Let me get my joke in there. So it was a lot of fun.
So what are you thinking?
That you can't guard me.
Got any guesses there? Deb in Colorado.
Are we still doing this?
Yeah, why? You done with this already? You had enough?
I have too much
Once
thinking to do during the show.
Times a week. I know.
Like, this hurts my head.
It's a very draining day. Today's a very draining
Give me your clues.
Deb in Colorado's the winner, 74. The clue is living large.
Living large.
Living largent. Something happened.
Steve Largent.
Something happened in 1974. What would have happened with Steve Largent could be representing a certain team? On June 4th, 1974, NFL awards a franchise
to Seattle.
The Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and number 6, June 4th, 1968. The number 6 means Don Drysdale pitches his 6th straight shutout on his way to 58 2/3 innings of scoreless ball. 74-6.
And somebody got this?
Deb in Colorado. The Seahawks won. I wasn't as shocked, but that's a tough one. 6 for 6 straight shutouts for Drysdale on his way to 58 2/3 scoreless innings. That's impressive.
But then Oral Hershiser surpassed him, right?
Hershiser ended up getting the record over Drysdale. So there you go, 74-6. Deb in Colorado, congratulations.
Thanks, Todd.
That was a tough one. Well done. do.
Close up shop here. Last call for phone calls. What we learn, what's in store tomorrow. Kareem in Colorado. Hopefully I got that pronunciation correct. Kareem?
Yes, you did, Dan. Hey, first time, long time. 5'9", 175. Hey, Dan, was it Michael Irvin that said brothers got cable in the hood, too?
Oh, no. That was Ice Cube who said that.
Well, Ice Cube. Well, hey, add this one. Hey, brothers got YouTube in the hood too. Hey, in all seriousness, Dan. Hey, man, I just want to tell you guys, man, I appreciate the show. I'm a combat vet, 14-year law enforcement. I've been in the career for 14 years, and this past week, man, has been very tough. I'm a black man. And some of the worst times I've been through on my job, man, I've been able to tune in into your show and just get a good laugh and just listening to you guys. And I really enjoy your show. My kids do. My son, he watches the show with me. My daughter, they were watching some old clips on ESPN. They're like, Dad, is that Dan? I'm like, yeah, that's him. And so it was just so funny. But I appreciate you guys, man. It's going to take guys like yourself and like Rick Chapman said, white people, man, that have a voice speaking out on what's going on in our country, man, and just being side by side with us and being an ally. I consider you an ally, Dan. I just want to say keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you, man, and you guys keep doing what you're doing.
Stay on hold. Marvin's going to get your information there. Send some T-shirts to the kids if that's okay, Kareem.
Yeah, that's cool, Dan. Take care.
All right. Oh, man. What an interesting show. Once again, when people say, how do you fill up all the time? You got 3 hours to fill and no games. I don't know. There might be 1 or 2, maybe 3 days throughout all of this where I came in and I said, I don't know if we're going to fill 3 hours. And trust me, I want to talk sports. I would love to be able to talk about games, but we don't have that luxury. But there's not been a shortage of talking points here, topics. Some good, some bad, but having the opportunity to be able to talk about them is a great luxury that we have every single day. And I'll go back to what I've said, and this is going to remain my philosophy. We can agree to disagree, but that's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a better person. It makes you a person. And that's what we try to do. I try to give you both sides. Hopefully I give you both sides. And we reach out to get both sides. Don't always get, we reached out to Drew Brees. When it comes to some of the other things that are going on, Malcolm Jenkins, we reached out to him as well. Michael Thomas of the Saints, we reach out. Now, that doesn't mean they have to join us. But just so you know, we always tell Fritzy, fairness, equal time. That's what's important, and that's how we're trying to present these topics. And they're sensitive topics. I never thought that we would be revisiting Colin Kaepernick. I thought that was, we're going to agree to disagree, we move forward with it. And then here we are, back in the news again. Let's go around the room what we learned on the program. Fritzy, I'll start with you. What did you learn today?
I loved all of Rex Chapman's stories, but the one in particular, his sister once hung up on Michael Jordan when he was calling to recruit him to go to North Carolina.
McLovin, what did you learn today?
Rex Chapman got a little shy when you were asking about what he may or may not have gotten at Kentucky.
Or any other school there. $100 handshakes. Nope. From my parents. Seton O'Connor.
Rex Chapman's got stories.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And I spent time with him in person, and he's just a likable guy. He really is. He just wants to laugh. He's really good at picking horses. He grew up in Kentucky, but he's really good when it comes to picking the horses. And I think we had him on picking the Kentucky Derby a couple of times there. Paulie, what'd you learn today?
If Rex Chapman didn't injure his ankle in '94, he may have joined the Bulls for Michael Jordan's next run where he won 3 titles.
Yeah, I think there was a trade in place, he said, and he was going to take Ron Harper's place or be traded for Ron Harper, and Rex was going to the All-Star game. He dislocated his ankle right before that, and the trade never materialized. Jordan comes back from baseball, and Ron Harper gets to ride coattails there to win a couple of championships. Oh, man. Rex's laugh, though, like when he tells his story, and he's really into that story, it's good. Good stuff. How about this day in sports history, Paul?
Thanks for asking, Dan. 1964, Sandy Koufax threw his 3rd career no-hitter. People always say white whales of guests you'd like to have on your show. That's a sneaky one for me because nobody interviews that guy.
He just doesn't like to talk about himself. And I always, whenever I think of Sandy Koufax, I always think of that big delivery, just the way he was able to, have so much torque with his body, and he just would dominate people. And he had these movie star looks. He just looked, and he went to the University of Cincinnati. Played baseball at the University of Cincinnati. Did you guys know that, back row?
No.
No idea.
Wait, your patron saint? You did not know?
This day in obscure facts. Nice job.
Yeah.
I know where Sean Green went to high school. No, I don't.
Do you know the first athlete to be on a Wheaties box?
Is it Sandy Koufax?
No.
Mark Spitz?
No.
Is it a Jewish athlete? Because I'm running out of here. I got like 3 more.
I don't.
Rod Carew.
No, it's not Rod Carew. It's Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig, first athlete to be on a Wheaties box. What else do you have, Paulie?
This is a good one for you, Dan. 1976, the Boston Celtics defeated the Phoenix Suns in triple overtime in Game 5 of the NBA Finals.
Gar Hurd hit the shot and sent it into overtime. Anything else there, Paulie?
That's it.
Okay. Todd, what did I learn on today's award-winning program?
Tim Legler says he's tough to beat in a climate-controlled environment, said he could beat you shooting left-handed.
I know. I'll never take him up on it because even if I win, I'm supposed to win. And if I don't win, that dude beat me left-handed. What we learned brought to you by LegalZoom. They made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Thanks for the emails, tweets, phone calls. Do it again tomorrow. Meet Friday. Have a great day, everybody.